Talk about the Commanders, right? Congratulations to them, as it's all just setting in for a lot of people. Burgundy and Gold, one win away from the Super Bowl for the first time since the 90s. So we're going to take a look at how much you'll have to shell out for tickets if you want to head up to see them play. Good news is you can drive to Philly pretty easily. Bad news is you're looking at $1,000 or more just to get in.
Yeah. Lots of money, lots of company.
Yeah. What do they say? Today's price is, yesterday's price is today's price.
You got it.
Hey, but
Price went up.
Those dirty birds don't stand a chance, guys. They don't do it.
You got it.
Let's go, Commanders. See you in a bit, guys.
We'll see you guys in a second. All right, well, TikTok is back after going offline for several hours over the weekend. This was the response to the federal ban prohibiting the social media app from operating in the U.S. Now, this morning, President-elect Trump, who once led the call to ban the platform, is now being held as its hero. Yesterday, in a post on Truth Social, Trump promised to issue an executive order on day one of his presidency, giving TikTok's Chinese-based parent company, ByteDance, more time to find a U.S. buyer for the app.
Who in this audience goes with TikTok? Many? Yeah, very popular. We have to save it, a lot of jobs.
Well, ByteDance issued a statement thanking Trump for promising to hold off on the ban. TikTok now has 90 days to find a new and approved U.S. buyer.
Well, during one of her final days in the White House, First Lady Dr. Jill Biden paid a visit to the National Zoo to get a sneak peek at the new giant pandas. She went on a private tour with her grandson and then to check out Bao, Li, and Qing Bao and how they're going to make their debut on Friday. Now, the zoo will host celebrations until February 9th, right in time for the Lunar New Year Festival.
Oh, that's so good.
Aw, I can't wait to see the pandas myself in person.
I know her grandson, Bo, was just so excited. You see him just reacting with Bao, Li, and Qing Bao. Of course, they were asleep the whole time, but good to see.
All right, guys. Well, a lot more news, weather, and traffic coming your way. We're going to bring more updates on this Inauguration Day. It's coming up on the other side of the break. Stay with us.
I'm Jeanne Francine. We have to take our final 2-minute commercial break of the hour here at 5:55 on the East Coast. We'll be right back. .557 here on the East Coast, and we're getting this in from X, this tweet coming down from President Biden. He says, on our last full day in office, Jill and I wanted to be in South Carolina. We started this morning in church to reflect on the power of faith. And here at the International African American Museum, we reflect on the power of history in redeeming the soul of our nation. So I wanted to share that with you in real time. If you're just now tuning in, good morning to you. We do have a quick content reminder for you right here on Live Now from Fox. Don't forget, we know today, Monday, January 20th, is MLK Day, that federal holiday where we examine and honor the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But we are also keeping a close eye on today's festivities, this momentous occasion of Inauguration Day 2025, live coverage starting at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. So wanting to share that with you. As we further discuss the very latest, energy is growing as the nation and the world await President-elect Donald Trump's second inauguration. I want to take you out to the nation's capital at this hour as we know security already in full force. While there's been major changes to several of the locations of today's events, thousands of men and women in uniform remain at the ready. Fox News correspondent Rebecca Castor joins us in Washington with the latest on what you can expect from all of the action.
We will not waste a single moment in delivering on our promises to the people.
President-elect Donald Trump is eager for his second term to start. Once he takes the oath of office, he will officially become the 47th president of the United States.
Within hours of taking office, I will sign dozens of executive orders.
While frigid temperatures force the ceremony from the iconic west front of the Capitol to inside the rotunda, security in and around is still red hot.
MPD is actively monitoring 19 scheduled First Amendment demonstrations across the city.
On Sunday, thousands of officers from across the country were given police powers in D.C. through Monday.
Our officers are on the ground, supporting road closures, managing crowd safety.
Before Donald Trump swears in, Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh will give the vice presidential oath of office to J.D. Vance, the first millennial to serve in that role. Chief Justice John Roberts will then administer the presidential oath to Trump.
We have to remember that America is that shining.
Free Tax USA to the rescue.
Meet Bob. Bob just got his tax forms.
It's that time of the year again.
Democracy.
All three living former presidents, as well as outgoing President Joe Biden, will attend. And with hundreds of thousands of supporters in town, now with nowhere to go, the Trump team is having a live viewing party at D.C.'s Capital One Arena.
And now it's Fox News correspondent Rebecca Castor joining us on this Monday morning. The time now officially 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. Good morning to you if you're just now tuning in. I'm Jeanne Francine. We're going to go ahead and check in with our content partners, Fox 5 DC. We see they are back from a quick commercial break. They are sharing the very latest and everything you need to know about Inauguration Day 2025.
Melanie Allwood keeping an eye on crowds already gathering at Metro.
Well, we begin this morning with Tucker and Annie Mae tracking your Inauguration Day commute and weather. Tucker, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Cold temperatures, as advertised, have arrived overnight here on the back end of our snow that we had yesterday afternoon. And you're pretty much looking at high temperatures right now, which are in the 20s. We're 26 degrees in Washington. And you can see that surrounding counties here, Germantown down to 17 degrees, 24 in Waldorf, La Plata. Not showing you wind chills, which are in the single digits and teens. And guess what? From here, temperatures won't budge. It will be a good looking day, lots of sunshine, but windy and very cold. With wind chills in the teens most of the day. More coming up. Annie Mae.
All right. Thank you. 6 o'clock, we'll take a look at your Monday morning commute. In terms of the Beltway, right now it's looking great, but where you aren't is the majority of those street closures as well as Metro rail closures that you do need to keep in mind if you are headed into the D.C. area today for everything that's going on regarding inauguration. Red line trains run every 5 to 6 minutes. Green and yellow lines run every 6 minutes. Blue, orange, and silver run every 10 to 12. So keep all those in mind. Metro really is going to be your best bet this morning. We do have a couple of closures in terms of your areas, though. It's Archives, Mount Vernon Square, Federal Triangle are some of the ones that are closed this morning.
We will not waste a single moment in delivering on our promises to the people.
Despite the cold, thousands of people waited in very long lines to get into Capital One Arena last night. Same thing expected this morning.
Let's get out to Fox 5's Stephanie Ramirez with a look on the ground from the arena. And Stephanie, people already lined up and ready to go.
lined up some since 7:30 last night. Now, this is the area to go through security to get to Capital One Arena. And, guys, you can see it's a huge crowd here. And like I told you, some people sleeping over. There's still ice and snow on the ground. So it's brutal cold out here, but you see the dedication of a lot of folks. Now, we have some fine people here willing to talk with us live this morning. Tell everybody here where you're from, because we had a little conversation before.
I'm from Rhode Island.
Rhode Island?
Alabama.
Alabama.
Louisiana.
Louisiana. Welcome to D.C. Is this the first time to D.C.?
Yes.
This is. What do you make of how things have been going so far?
Oh, it's been great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You told me, though, you weren't able to get in last night.
Yeah, no, the line was just too long. But
did you have tickets to come down originally?
Yeah.
To see the inauguration?
Yep.
Is there any today?
No, there's no idea.
So what time did you hear that?
I got here at 3.
3 in the morning.
Yeah.
That's pretty early.
Yeah.
And obviously you're hoping to get in. What do you hope to experience today?
Well, just even being here in the line, just the camaraderie of the people, I think, looking forward to seeing Trump.
How about you folks? Did you have tickets going in?
We do. Well, we had tickets to stand in a good place by the Capitol, had it indeed taken place outside. But no, this was just register. We got confirmed after giving names, address, phone numbers, and then they gave us instructions to start standing in line early, dress warm. But we know they're only going to allow 20,000 folks in. We hope to be in that number.
All right, well, thank you folks for talking with us.
Though, because
stand by.
Oh.
All right, Stephanie, thanks very much. We're going to go inside the arena right now, and we'll check in with Jacqueline Matter, who is there. You got the coveted spot. All those folks outside are waiting to get, Jacqueline.
Yeah, good morning, Steve and Marissa. That's right. We passed by Stephanie and all of those thousands of people that are standing outside of Capital One Arena as they wait to make their way inside the building here because of those frigid temperatures that have now moved all of the festivities for Inauguration Day here inside. Now, let's take a look at what many of those supporters were expecting. They were expecting to see the president sworn in on the National Mall, but instead they will file into Capital One Arena today to watch the ceremony in the inaugural address live here on the Jumbotrons. Then the pomp and circumstance will then make its way to Capital One Arena from the Capitol Rotunda. Now, instead of the traditional parade down Pennsylvania Avenue, the president will also join supporters here after his swearing in, where he will make some of his first remarks as the 47th president of the United States. Now, last night, President-elect Trump also held his last victory rally here at Capital One Arena before taking office, greeted by a thunderous applause of thousands of supporters. He touched on a number of campaign promises while he was speaking, hoping to put into action in his first few days in office. Those included things like stronger border policies, remaking the federal government, also taking credit for ceasefire in the Middle East, and the return of the coveted TikTok.
I will act with historic speed and strength and fix every single crisis facing our country. We have to do it. At noon, the curtain closes on 4 long years of American decline, and we begin a brand new day of American strength and prosperity, dignity and pride.
Now, the security doors here at Capital One will open in a little less than an hour at 7 a.m. All those people Stephanie's been talking to outside, they'll start making their way in here. We've got a full rundown of what's to come throughout the morning here on Fox 5. We'll keep you updated throughout the morning. Guys,
Jacqueline, thanks very much. And keep it right here to Fox 5 all day long as our presidential inauguration coverage continues. You can tune in right here on Fox 5 on our website, fox5dc.com. You could stream it all live on our Fox Local app, which if you haven't downloaded it yet, you can scan that QR code on the screen and do so now.
6:06 now. It's time to do weather as we take a live view out in Frederick this morning. And Tucker, we all know weather played a role in the inauguration as well, moving it indoors.
Yeah, fear was cold weather or the forecast, and it's been realized early this morning as we have temperatures in the mid-20s and wind chills in the teens, and it's not, the numbers just aren't going to warm up a lot today. So even with sunshine, if you're going to be standing in line or outside for any period of time, make sure you are ready for a cold, cold day. All right, let's do some numbers for you and hop on in here. Very cold and blustery, and again, we're talking about wind chills much of the day in the teens. Those are your actual air temperatures at 6 a.m. 26 degrees at Reagan National. Of course, we got some fresh snow cover out there for much of the area as well. Dulles, 20 degrees, 23 this morning in Baltimore, BWI Marshall. Winds are back out of the north and west at 10, and they'll get blustery at times, probably to 20 to 30. So wind chills again going to be the big story today. Just make sure you don't have exposed skin for long periods of time. As the daytime highs, as I mentioned, we're pretty much looking at them in the mid-20s. We won't warm up from here as we've got very, very cold, really our coldest Arctic blast here we've seen so far this winter season in the Washington area, expected later this afternoon. Good news is we're back to sunshine. The light rain and then sleet and then snow we had yesterday is all gone, and it should be a brighter day. We'll see a little bit of cloudiness this afternoon, but otherwise quiet looking day for you and a quiet couple days. Just very, very cold around here the next couple afternoons and overnights. 27 will do it for a daytime high. Very blustery out there. Annie Mae, good morning.
Good morning. Right now, 6:07. We'll take a look at GW Parkway north and southbound. This is having to do with what Tucker said due to some of that winter weather we were looking at yesterday. Those icy conditions, definitely a potential there on GW Parkway. That is closed between the Beltway and Spout Run Parkway. If you do have to head that direction, you can use Clara Barton Parkway as the alternate. That's the McLean kind of through Arlington area. Otherwise, throughout the DMV right now, as of 6:08, you are looking great in terms of your area main roads. It's about 5 minutes if you're headed DC 295 southbound between Kenilworth and the 11th Street Bridge. Inbound New York Avenue, 8 between Kenilworth and the 3rd Street Tunnel. 395 northbound, 10 from the Beltway towards the 14th Street Bridge. Marissa?
Annie Mae, thank you so much. Today's inauguration ceremony begins with the traditional prayer service at St. John's Episcopal Church.
All right, Marina May is as close as she can get to the church this morning with a preview of one of the, it's what we get every inauguration, Mo.
Yeah, you know, so we were closer to St. John's Episcopal Church earlier this morning, but obviously they have to do security sweeps, so we've been pushed back beyond another perimeter. Let me go this way so you can see the trucks now blocking. You also have that anti-scaling fence that is up around here. Secret Service pushing us back this way because, again, they had to sweep the area in preparation of President-elect Trump making his way to St. John's Episcopal Church later this morning for that traditional ceremony or service that he will have with the First Lady. This is really a chance to be reflective, to think about the next 4 years, what they want to accomplish. This is an apolitical service. This is something that they do every 4 years. Every president does. For 92 years, they've been doing this. So again, this is designed to just give him the space to be a little contemplative about what lies ahead the next 4 years. After that, he'll make his way back to the White House, where he's expected to have tea with President Biden and Jill Biden before then going into the swearing-in ceremony. As we've been showing you all morning long, security has been incredibly tight, but a lot of folks braving the security, braving the weather to just have a chance to be at this historic event. These two gentlemen, we stopped them. You can see they're dressed for the occasion. Cold out here. Where are you guys from, and what's your name?
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. Oh, so you're cold. You are used to the cold.
Yeah, Corey Francis.
Why is it important for you to be here today?
Because I painted him back in 2015, and it came out amazing, and I made a lot of money during the 16th inauguration. But he's going to make everything right. He's going to fix shit.
All right. Well, wait a minute. So sorry. Okay, please don't get us in trouble. All right. And what about you, sir?
I'm here just to support Trump and make America great again, 100%. The way it was, the way it 100%. Should be.
Are you hopeful that there will be at least a coming of minds? The folks who didn't support him maybe will come under his umbrella this time.
Yeah, yes. He was voted out. Now he's voted back in by America. So. Yeah. America's had enough.
100%.
All right, gentlemen, I know you have more to say, but I've got to wrap up here. But thank you so much for being here.
I was here in 3 different other inaugurations, and it's never been like this.
Security very tight. We've been talking about it. Thank you, guys. Have a great day. This is Channel 5, Fox 5. As you can see, a lot of people here excited to be here at the nation's capital for this inauguration. Any way you voted, you can't deny that this is history in the making. And so we are here covering all bases for you this morning, from the security to the crowd to the pageantry and ceremony. We've got you covered here at Fox 5. In the meantime, I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
We'll be hearing from voters all day, all morning long. Thanks so much, Maureen, for getting us started early. It's 6:11, still to come. Much more on today's inauguration, including how Metro is faring so far with all of the huge crowds.
All right, and in other news, the Commanders now 1 win away from the Super Bowl for the first time since '91. Reaction from fans, and a look at how much those tickets are going for up in Philly.
All right, and we appreciate our content partners there at Fox 5 DC. As they get to a quick 2-minute commercial break, we're going to stay on the air because we have a lot to show you as it relates to Inauguration Day 2025. Take a good look at your screen. This just coming in from the United States Secret Service. They are providing an update on this Monday, January 20th. They say, quote, for those attending the presidential parade at the Capital One Arena Monday, January 20th, the U.S. Secret Service is directing everyone to an entry point located at 4th and H Street West. All attendees will be directed from there to the main security checkpoint at 9th and G Street Northwest. Security screening will begin at 7 a.m. Now, for D.C. residents who live within the Chinatown and Judiciary Square neighborhoods, there will be a community access point located at 9th and H Street Northwest and 3rd and G Street Northwest. They go on to say you must have a valid D.C. license listing your local address. And I will tell you all, on this Monday, they are not playing. We have seen Fox 5's Melanie Onwick out there, and there's a certain card you have to take the metro that you will be given. And also, again, as it says there, they are checking your ID to make sure you are where you need to be when you say you need to be there. But of course, you can imagine this is what happens when we have an inauguration. Safety and security, a top priority for the Secret Service. If we look back to last year, what happened at those campaign rallies for President-elect Donald Trump. We saw attempted assassinations. So the Secret Service keeping this in mind on this inauguration day, as they don't want anything to go haywire on today. They want to keep the current president, Joe Biden, and then VP Harris, and then the incoming administration, the Trump and Vance administration, safe at all times. And of course, the people who are there, they want to keep them safe as well. We do have a look at some of the safety and security clearances. This takes us out to D.C., and you can see Melanie Onwick there in the distance. I just wanted to show this to you in real time so you can see what I was referring to about how transit is being affected. 6:14 here on the East Coast. I also want to show you a live look at the White House. If you're just now tuning in, you can see the flags there and half staff on this inauguration day. So wanting to provide that perspective for you as we continue to share the very latest. Quick content reminder for you right here on Live Now from Fox. We will have coverage throughout the morning. I want to share this graphic with you in real time. Inauguration Day 2025 live coverage starting at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. But of course, I'm in the host chair right now, Jeanette Francine, and we're providing all of that pre-coverage for you, safety and security measures, what you need to know. Maybe you're wanting to know what are you allowed to bring in and around the perimeter. Of course, traffic congestion, winter weather alerts. As we know, snow and ice are in the area as well. And then, of course, there will be streets that are blocked off because obviously with the parade route and everything, they want to keep everything at a safe distance. So wanting to share that with you in real time so that you are prepared. 6:15 here on the East Coast. Let's go ahead and go to a quick 2-minute commercial break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. I'm Jeanne Francine. Want to give you a live look, a different shot that's into our Live Now from Fox studios there. The U.S. Capitol there in the distance, a wide-scale view on this inauguration day. And as we continue to propel the coverage and get you excited about this momentous occasion, this coming in from the D.C. Police Department. They say months of planning have led us to this moment. Follow along as our MPD motor unit, along with officers across the agency, are on the move to protect and serve the city and our country on this momentous day. So keep that in mind. Make sure you are making smart, safe moves on this inauguration day. All right, let's go ahead and check back in with our content partners over at Fox 5 DC.
A group of people yesterday were very excited about the Commanders. None of them were alive last time they went to the championship game. Suddenly made me feel very old.
33 years.
I know.
34 years.
It's a whole lifetime.
Can't wait for next weekend, though. Really exciting. That was just an amazing win. All right, you probably can wait to go outside and experience what Mother Nature has to offer you. Let's revisit yesterday quickly. Wow, our snow took its time getting here, but when it did, it really came down. It was beautiful there for a couple hours. And that sleet, I've never seen it sleet as hard as it did yesterday afternoon for about an hour. Officially, 0.3 of an inch at Reagan National there, but more as you got up north and west at 95. Dallas 1.4 inches, Baltimore 1 inch, and again, as you got where the area was under a winter storm warning, we have lots of 4- and 5-inch snow totals from yesterday. All right, fresh snow covering for many of us, and here comes the cold. And going forward for your day-to-day, it's all about the cold weather. 26 in Washington, Leonardtown 24 degrees, 18 in Gaithersburg. These are air temperatures. 19's the winning number. Winchester, Hagerstown, Cumberland, where again we did get some more impressive snow amounts, over 4 inches in Winchester. There's current wind chills. 16 in Washington, 9 in Gaithersburg. Winds are going to be persistent and very blustery at times today, out of north and west to about 25. So, unfortunately, these numbers aren't going to budge at all today. Highs only expected to be in the mid-20s. Should be plenty of sunshine for you. Quiet afternoon. I know many of us are going to be outside for periods of time later today. It's never going to be a comfortable day, but at least it should be a sunny day or a partly to mostly sunny day as we have quiet conditions. It's very, very cold tonight, and we're going to kind of reset and do this pattern for the next couple of days. It really won't warm up until the end of the week. And I do want to mention very quickly, even though we had light snow amounts, it has really locked up, very icy across the area early this morning. So be extra cautious on those roads. 27 today, 25 tomorrow, 23 on Wednesday, then a little better. Anime?
Burr. Cold. Right now, 617, we'll take a look there. 95 northbound, about 15 minutes if you're headed from Quantico to the Beltway. Your area main roads are looking pretty good, but actually Tucker mentioned it as well. Potential for some ice on some of those secondaries as well as your neighborhood. I know when I was headed out the door this morning, of course, a little bit earlier, it was literally an ice rink on some of your secondaries as well as your neighborhood. So just keep that in mind as you are headed out the door. Inner loop is about 12 between 95 and the Dulles Toll Road. 66 looking good as well from Manassas towards the Beltway, about 17 for that 19-mile stretch. Dulles Toll Road, 12, your westbound side of things, 13, your eastbound side of things from the airport towards the Beltway. Just know GW is going to be closed there. That's between kind of McLean, Arlington, between the Beltway and Spout Round Parkway due to those icy conditions. Use Clara Barton if you want to as an alternate. Marissa?
I took an Uber, Annie Mae, because of the icy conditions, so you're right. Continuing our Inauguration Day coverage, we have some key times you need to know about the historic event.
All right, Stephen joins us with what we should all expect today.
All right, guys, it's a busy day, and good morning to you guys. And if you're planning on celebrating the 60th presidential inauguration, we have some key times for you to pay attention to. So less than an hour away, some security screening will begin at 7. Now, those musical performances that everybody looks forward to seeing, those will start around 9:30 a.m. And then opening remarks will be at 11:30 a.m. The swearing-in ceremony, however, for President-elect Donald Trump and Vice President-elect J.D. Vance is slated to begin at noon. That'll happen in the Capitol Rotunda. That was moved from outdoors to indoors. The traditional inaugural lunch, that'll be followed by the ceremony. So we'll get those things for you. And of course, we got a lot to follow today. Stay with Fox 5, stay with Fox Local as we continue our coverage all day long, guys.
The ceremonial units of the U.S. military stepping into the spotlight as they gear up for today's inauguration. And with so much happening inside the Capitol, their job is evolving, working around the clock to make sure everything runs smoothly. Retired U.S. Army Colonel Richard Breen, who no stranger to inauguration, says it's all about about the precision and the timing. Speaking from his years of military experience in D.C., telling Fox 5's On the Hill this weekend that now it's time to put the planning into action and execute that mission flawlessly.
You practice, you rehearse, and train, and with the military, you always have contingency operations. So you've prepared for an inclement weather plan that you normally do. But that does change the whole logistics and the dynamics of the event.
Military District of Washington includes the Old Guard, the Caisson, Chorus, and Army bands, also an aviation and combat role in the defense of the National Capital Region.
Checking our other top stories this morning, a man faces murder charges for shooting and killing 2 people in Rockville. 25-year-old Kaloyan Demov-Stoev is a suspect being held without bond. They say he killed a man in a car last Friday morning on Shady Grove Road. Less than a mile away, they say he killed a woman in a parking lot.
All right, as they switch to more localized coverage, we are going to stay on national, what many people are waking up following on this Monday, January 20th, giving you a live look there at the White House, the flags at half staff, and you can see in the distance all of the lights and sirens that are showing security in full force, to say the least, on this Monday on Inauguration Day. So wanting to make sure you all see that in real time. Again, giving you this nice shot. I like it. I think it's a nice wide-scale view also of the nation's capital, the U.S. Capitol there on your screen here at 623.
In 2017, Trump's tax cuts helped families get ahead by putting $1,500 back in Americans' pockets. Now they're set to expire. Tell Washington now is not the time to raise taxes. Protect prosperity. Renew the TCJA.
It's halftime. Time to open the fridge.
I'm not sure why I'm showing you this.
The cabinets and the pantry.
Okay, and here you've got plenty of storage for snacks or expired stuff.
And show how much space you have in your kitchen. Selling your home to Open Door is so easy. You can do it during halftime.
Keep an eye on this for me, Beth. Oh, yeah. It's not like I'm selling the house or anything.
Get started at opendoor.com.
Visit AutoNation Toyota today.
Back with a Fox 5 News alert now. Released Palestinians recounting prison conditions in Israel as they return home. Some of the women who were released by Israel as part of the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas say the conditions in the prison were, quote, very difficult and chaotic. The former hostages say almost no basic necessities were available. Hamas now expected to release several more prisoners on Saturday.
Turning now to the wildfires in Southern California. Firefighters are battling 2 active wildfires. The Palisades fire, which started about 2 weeks ago, is now at 52% containment. Meantime, the Eaton fire is at 81%. The fires have scorched thousands of acres and killed at least 27 people. This morning, authorities are monitoring for the potential for high winds, which could worsen the remaining wildfires. Meantime, 2 people accused of impersonating firefighters have been arrested.
All right, coming up on 625, weather obviously a big deal today with cold conditions out there, Tuck.
Yeah, fresh cover to snow for many of us, and in its wake here, we are looking at some bitter cold air. This will be the coldest air mass we've seen yet this month of January. 26 to start your morning, winds out of the north and west at 10. The feels like, that's your wind chill at 16. This number's not going to budge a lot. That number is not going to budge a lot today. We'll get some sunshine, but we will not get warm temperatures as we'll be in the mid-20s this afternoon and plenty windy out there. Good-looking morning ahead as far as sunshine. We're done with the snow and the sleet that we had yesterday, and we're looking at a quiet pattern here for the next couple of days, but a very, very cold pattern continues. You can see the daytime highs well below normal. We should be in the mid-40s, 20 degrees plus below normal next couple of days. Annie Mae?
I have a snow pic that I took.
Little snowman?
Yesterday.
Little
no,
guy?
It's just like a nice, like...
Oh, snow globe.
Yeah. No, not a snow pic. A snow pic.
Oh.
No, it's not a selfie. It's a picture of the snow.
Oh, yeah. You know what I think is hot is a good picture of just the snow. Not, you don't have to...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The things that
Okay.
Tucker thinks is hot. Right now, 6:25. Well, look with GW Parkway north and southbound. Due to those icy conditions we're looking at, that is going to be closed between the Beltway and Spout Run Parkway. You can use Clara Barton as an alternate, but of course with all the construction in the area, GW is just better off that is closed. BW Parkway north and southbound looking good in both directions. Back to you guys.
Keep it right here to Fox 5. Our inauguration coverage continues at 6:30. President-elect Trump will be sworn in later today. We'll go back to the White House. We're taking a live look there now. And we have live team coverage for you all day long. After the break, a look at how Metro is doing to keep up with all of the crowds. We'll be right back.
All right, and as they go to a quick 2-minute commercial break, I want to share this content reminder with you here on Live Now from Fox, giving you another live look at the White House here at 627 on the East Coast. As we know, we are hours away from President-elect Donald Trump to be sworn in as the 47th president. We do have some quick content reminders. The Fox Forecast Center predicting that temperatures will get below 30 degrees, and that's why we have medical professionals that are stationed around the site to make sure people don't get hypothermia. Make sure you are bundled up to stay warm. We even saw someone out in that area selling hand warmers as well. We know Inauguration Day in 1994, coldest temperatures in history, reaching only 18 degrees. I'm getting cold just saying that. And then Inauguration Day back in 1951, the warmest temperatures in history, reaching 70 degrees. So you can see how things differ with those times. 6:28 here on the East Coast. Let's take our second 2-minute commercial break of the hour. We'll be right back. .30 here on the East Coast. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. I'm Jeanne Francine. Before the break, we were showing you all those facts as relates to Inauguration Day and how cold it will be today. I told you all that there will be medical personnel stationed around the perimeter to make sure you are safe, making sure you don't get hypothermia. And we have this tweet to share with you to further confirm that. This coming in from the District of Columbia National Guard. They say it's more than public safety. The National Guard's medical teams are keeping service members healthy and mission ready for the 60th presidential inauguration, preventing illness and treating injuries. So sharing that with you in real time. Let's go ahead and check back in with our content partners at Fox 5 DC as they further dissect all you need to know on this Inauguration Day 2025.
Imagine all of the good things that we will accomplish together with 4 more years in the White House.
Amazing, more than worth the wait.
Go Trump, man. Can't wait for the next 4 years.
But it's really cool, so actually I'm now a little bit happy that's inside.
You came all the way from Georgia to support President Trump.
I will act with historic speed and strength and fix every single crisis facing our country. We have to do it.
Today, President-elect Donald Trump will be sworn in as the nation's 47th president. Mr. Trump kicked off his inaugural celebrations over the weekend, which included a victory rally inside of Capital One Arena.
And those events continue today, as well as at the U.S. Capitol. The inauguration, of course, moved indoors due to the bitter cold temperatures.
And we have live team coverage for you all morning long. But first, we want to kick things off with Tucker for your Inauguration Day forecast. Tucker?
Yeah, it's all about the cold here going forward. We got the snow out of here late yesterday afternoon, and we're clearing out overnight. And the cold, it is here to stay. I'm going to show you temperatures right now, and they're not going to budge at all today. So you're pretty much looking at your daytime highs. In fact, they'll probably be a few degrees lower later this afternoon as that cold air continues to move on in. 26 in Washington this morning, 18 in Gaithersburg. Our wind chills are mostly in the teens. At times, the wind chills will be in the single digits today. Really, make sure you protect your skin if you're outside later this afternoon. Annie Mae, I'll have more coming up.
All right, thanks. 6:30, we'll take a look at your Monday morning commute. Of course, that does involve inauguration closures in and around the D.C. area. But we'll go ahead and start on GW Parkway north and southbound because of the weather we were actually looking at yesterday. McLean through Arlington, that's between the Beltway and Spout Run Parkway, are going to be closed due to those icy conditions, as well as just the construction in and around the area of GW. If you normally take GW, you know about that, so it's better off that it is closed this morning. Otherwise, throughout the DMV, in terms of your area main roads, you've got clear, but DC is where it gets a little dicey with all the road closures. Steve?
All right, let's talk Metro for a minute, because Metro riders headed to today's inauguration want to pay close attention to any changes and closures around the city, from adjusted stations to extended closures through tomorrow. There's a lot to keep in mind. So Mel's got that covered for us. She's down at Metro Center with more of the details. Metro opened early this morning, and folks were lined up early. Mel?
That's right. You know, we've seen a steady stream of customers coming in here to Metro Station, and one of the reasons why they want to come to Metro Center is to get this commemorative card. Metro Center is the only place where you can get one of these, and so we even talked to people who made their way all the way from other parts of the system to come here to try to do that. And you can see folks are standing in line here trying to get that commemorative card. They've got a lot of people. It is basically all hands on deck here at Metro Center and at all the Metro stations around the city. We know the Emergency Operations Center opened up yesterday to be prepared for everything that might be happening. And we also know that you're going to see a lot of security as well. You're going to see perhaps some National Guardsmen here. We know that there are transit police officers from around the country that are also coming to join Metro Transit Police to keep things safe for everyone. I want to bring in Monica. Monica, how are you doing?
Hi, fine, thank you.
So tell me how your ride on Metro was this morning.
It was good. There's nobody, although when I went outside, it's full of people. And I wanted to say I really went outside and I heard about the commemoration smart trip cards, and I came here to get it. And I already been interviewed by a Dutch TV station, so it was like a lot international. Yesterday we were with the Romanian DG24 TV station outside.
You said that you're an independent, but you still wanted to come to see the inauguration.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I have the red hat, but it doesn't mean anything rather than it was had an H&M. But it's fantastic to be here. They said there are 20,000 people, but right outside there are probably 50 or 60,000 already, or getting close to it. So I'm not sure we're going to be able to get in. People were staying from last night outside. So
it's still going to be a good day.
It's fantastic, and thank you for your service.
All right, thank you, Monica. Thank you so much, guys. So again, everyone in really good spirits here so far today. And if you need to know about Metro changes, I can tell you, Annie Mae is all over that, guys. But Metro Center really going to be the one place that'll get you where you need to go downtown today.
All right, everybody's bundled up for sure in this weather. You got to be. These frigid temps force the traditionally outdoor swearing-in ceremony to be held inside.
All right, so let's go inside and see what's going on. Jacqueline Matter is there inside the arena this morning, where a lot of folks will be watching. Good morning, Jacqueline.
Yeah, guys, good morning. And we are just hours now away from welcoming in a new commander-in-chief. And as you mentioned, those frigid temperatures that Tucker's been talking about all morning long, that is what is forcing all of these celebrations to come indoors, including here to Capital One Arena. You can see behind me here the crew setting up the stage for the presidential parade and for President-elect Trump to come on stage here. But in about 30 minutes, all those people that are standing outside, when we check in with Stephanie Ramirez, they're going to be making their way in here because the security doors open in less than half an hour, and that's when people will start packing into Capital One Arena. In the meantime, though, of course, like you mentioned, Marissa, many of these people were expecting to be out on the National Mall today. Of course, because of those frigid temperatures, they will now be filing into Capital One Arena to watch the ceremony. That'll be live streamed for the inaugural address on the Jumbotrons here. And then all of that pomp and circumstance is going to make its way here to the Capital One Arena. Last night, President-elect Trump, was also here having his last victory rally ahead of today's inauguration. He spoke about stronger border policies, remaking federal government, and taking credit for the ceasefire in the Middle East and the return of TikTok.
By the time the sun sets tomorrow evening, the invasion of our borders will have come to a halt, and all the illegal border trespassers will in some form or another be on their way back home.
Now, as I mentioned, the security doors will open here at Capital One Arena at 7 a.m. Then the ceremony will start streaming at 10:30 a.m. ahead of the swearing in at noon. And then at 3:30 p.m. is when the presidential parade will take place here in Capital Arena. Now, what is the big question today is there was upwards of 200,000 people that were expected to be out on the National Mall for Inauguration Day today. Many of those ticketed people were planning to be out there, but Capital One Arena only holds 20,000. So it remains to be seen exactly how many, what the protocol is when it comes to having people in. Is it first come, first serve? Is it a ticketed event? We did reach out to the Presidential Inauguration Committee, but have not heard back from them on that. So we will see in the next 30 minutes, roughly, guys. I'll send it back to you.
All right, Jacqueline, thanks very much. Jacqueline, nice and warm inside. As she mentioned, doors will open in less than 30 minutes, and then all the folks outside hopefully can warm up as well, because you need it today.
She's got the coveted spot.
She does.
Yes.
Yeah, she hit the coverage lottery.
She got right the reporter assignments. She won the lottery.
Nice and warm.
Yes, cold is here. It is here to stay today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. But we're talking about dangerous cold at times, especially when you mix in winds and wind chills. It'll be down near zero. Later tonight, we're going to have wind chills below zero. So we've got some extra advisories here. And just coldest day we've seen so far in the month of January, behind the snow and sleet we had yesterday. 26 this morning in Washington, 24 Upper Marlboro. Good morning, Bowie, 23 degrees. Look at 18 sticks out there. These are actual air temperatures up in Germantown in Montgomery County, 20 in Haymarket, 24 in Dale City. Numbers just aren't going to budge a lot today. These are pretty much your daytime highs. We will get some sunshine. We'll also get a lot of wind at times. Currently out of the north and west at about 10, but we'll see gusts occasionally 20 to 25, and that'll give us wind chills very much on the cold side this afternoon, mostly in the teens. So plan accordingly here. Plenty of sunshine. That's the good news. And, at least we don't have to worry about any storminess today, but 27 is going to do it for your daytime highs. Very cold tonight. Anyway?
Thank you. Right now, we'll move on to your roads real quick. We'll look there, 270 southbound direction. 31 minutes there between 70 and the Beltway. A lot of your area main roads looking green. 9 between 95 and 270 for the top side of the outer loop Beltway. BW Parkway, both directions looking good as well. Steven?
Thank you very much. Well, here's what's ahead in the next 45 minutes. At 6:40, changes a local high school following a string of recent fights involving students. And then at 6:43, a look at how much tickets are going for this weekend's Commanders-Eagles game. And then at 6:54, the Pandas making their public debut this Friday. We're going to have some tips on how you can tell them apart. And then at 6:57, the new feature that Instagram just rolled out. Stay with us.
It really ruined everything.
And as they go to a quick break, we want to share this with you in real time as we are keeping a close eye on Inauguration Day 2025 festivities. You can see there on the left-hand side of your screen, we kind of have a timeline for you. 8:30 this morning Eastern Time, President-elect Trump will attend St. John Church's service. 10:30, Trump and Biden will arrive at the U.S. Capitol. 11:18 this morning Eastern Time, swearing-in ceremony takes place. Then at around noon, 12:40 p.m. Eastern Time, President and VP participate in farewell departure ceremony. And then at at 1 o'clock this afternoon Eastern time. We are seeing the president's signing room ceremony will begin. So wanting to share that with you as we continue to follow the very latest. 6:41 here on the East Coast. We do have some more tweets coming into our live now from Fox Studios. This one showing us, it's coming from the District of Columbia National Guard. It says National Guard leaders have authorized the use of a special shoulder patch with the Guard motto, always ready, always there, to ensure that people coming to the inauguration of President-elect Donald Trump on Monday will know who is who. And this is why I want to show you in real time a live look out in Washington, D.C. You can see droves of people, and some of them even camped out overnight just to try to get one of those few select spots to see this historic day in action. We see that Fox 5 D.C., they have gone to a quick break, so we will do the same here at 6:41 on the East Coast. We'll be right back. .44 here on the East Coast. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. I'm Jeanne Francine. As we further discuss the safety and security aspect of Inauguration Day 2025, giving you this tweet coming in from the D.C. Police Department. They say happening now. Law enforcement from across the country is about to be sworn in to assist the Metropolitan Police Department with the 60th presidential inauguration. And I can tell you all, as far as South Florida, we even saw a picture early this morning with the Miami Police Department. They are driving out there to help assist their men and women, brothers and sisters in blue, to make sure that it's a successful one. Thank you, Tania. There's that picture. You can see some smiles on some of the faces, and then you see some others who are like, you know what, it's pretty early. We are on this bus to do our duty, but maybe we should have got some coffee first. But the City of Miami Police Department, they say there on X, they are fully prepared to contribute to the safety and security efforts alongside numerous other law enforcement agencies from across the nation in anticipation of President Donald Trump's inauguration. They go on to say, God bless America. And I can definitely tell you all, the men and women in blue who are traveling from Miami to the nation's capital, this will be a day that they don't forget as they are protecting the country and also seeing history happen in real time. So wanting to share that with you in real time. I want to show you what the nation's capital looks like at this hour. 6:45 here on the East Coast. Now you're getting a live look there. The U.S. Capitol there in the distance. A beautiful shot. The sun not up just yet, but still nicely illuminated here. And we are seeing that in real time. And then giving you a live look at the White House as well. And you can see that there's a little blanket of snow there in the distance, and winter weather definitely going to impact the inauguration today. Let's check in with Fox 5 DC as we now see they are about to check in with their meteorologist.
Including a 4-1 victory against the rival Pittsburgh Penguins Saturday. So way to go, Caps, too.
Love to see Ovi in the Jaden Daniels jersey. So great weekend of sports all around. 6:45 now.
Winners all around.
Yes, we'd love to see it, Tuck.
Steve, you know what?
What's that, my friend?
Annie Mae has declared herself a winner because she's associated with all of this. Yeah.
She's the lucky charm.
The Caps win, and that's great, but I was already a winner. It hurts to be top of the league, baby. What can I say?
More on that coming up in just a minute. Hey, cold and blustery Monday for you, but please, please, please take this cold seriously, as our daytime highs are only going to be exactly where the air temperatures I'm about to show you, with single-digit wind chills much of the afternoon. The winds are out of the north and west here. They'll be gusting times up to about 30. Looking down the road, this is several days away, but we do have a warm-up to look forward to by the end of the week. By Friday and Saturday and Sunday, 40s will be back. Okay, numbers, let's do it. These are actual air temperatures. 26 in Washington this morning, 18 in Gaithersburg, 24 in Leonardtown, 20 Dulles, anywhere from a trace of snow to 5 or 6 inches off to the north and west yesterday. And all of that fresh snowpack making for very, very icy conditions. We've really locked up the secondary roads. Annie Mae will comment on that. But it is a dangerous cold out there this morning, and it just won't warm up a lot. There's your satellite and your radar. It will feature plenty of sunshine. Do not be fooled. It will not be a warm day. Again, our daytime highs are pretty much where we're at right now, in the mid-20s, and wind chills most of the day. Single digits and low teens out there. So very, very blustery. Tonight and tomorrow, some of the coldest air yet. And the Weather Service just went ahead and issued a advisory here. And again, this is what we call a cold weather advisory for our region, as wind chills later tonight will likely be, for a time, below 0. So it just, again, really want to emphasize, you're outside today, protect your skin, as it will be a very cold afternoon. I know we've got a lot going on across the D.C. area later this afternoon. Tuesday and Wednesday, very cold as well. All right, here's our winner.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. It's just fun when everybody in D.C. plays well. The Commanders, the Cavs, it's just fun for all. We'll go ahead and get a look at your roads right now. Maryland 5 Branch Avenue northbound. If you're headed out the door right now, approaching the 7 o'clock hour, you're looking great. A lot of people do have work off today, so that could potentially be the reason you're seeing such great numbers. Maryland 210 northbound, pretty normal for this area between Berry Road and the Beltway. I-295 northbound, only 7 minutes between the Beltway and the 11th Street Bridge, approaching 7. DC 295 southbound, same story, 6 between Kenilworth and the 11th Street Bridge. I mean, we'll be saying this over and over again. If you can avoid the DC area in terms of driving this morning, that might be your best bet. Metro is definitely a good option for a lot of you this morning. We'll, of course, get to those Metro closures in just a bit, but this is another drive time there inbound New York Avenue between Kenilworth and the 3rd Street Tunnel. 8 minutes for that 4-mile stretch. Be aware of potential for icy patches, not really on your main roads, but definitely those secondaries as well as your neighborhoods. Back to you.
On his final full day in office, President Joe Biden issued 5 more pardons. That includes Virginia House Speaker Don Scott. Scott was convicted of a nonviolent drug offense back in 1994 and served 7 years in prison. Since his release, Scott became an attorney, got elected to the Virginia House of Delegates, and became the first black speaker of the Virginia House of Delegates back in 2024, so just last year. And the president also pardoned Marcus Garvey posthumously. He was an activist who influenced Malcolm X and several other civil rights leaders. Garvey was convicted of mail fraud back in the 20s. Congressional leaders pushed for his pardon after believing Garvey's sentencing was politically motivated.
Incoming President Donald Trump making some big promises as he outlines plans for his return to the White House. On day one, he plans to take on more than 200 executive orders. The agenda focusing on immigration, the border crisis, trade tariffs, and pardons related to January 6th. The president-elect says he plans to reinstate controversial policies, including mass deportations, and build a stronger border wall. He also promised to roll back many of President Biden's executive orders and implement higher tariffs on foreign goods to boost domestic manufacturing. Now, when it comes to January 6th, he vowed to pardon many of those involved, calling them patriots.
I will act with historic speed and strength and fix every single crisis facing our country. We have to do it. Think of it, open borders, prisons, and mental institutions, men playing in women's sports, transgender for everyone. Transgender. And very soon we'll begin the largest deportation operation in American history.
Trump's agenda also includes a promise to hold the current administration accountable for what he calls a failure to protect America.
New data from the Milken Institute reveals its 2025 best performing cities and some local places made the cut. The report is based on economic vitality and quality of life. D.C. lands at the 62nd best performing.
All right, as they transition to more localized coverage, we're going to use this time to take our third 2-minute commercial break of the hour here at 6:51 on the East Coast. I'm Jeanne Francine. We'll be right back. .53 is the time. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. I'm Jeanne Francine. On this Monday, January 20th, we are keeping a close eye on Inauguration Day 2025, but we also know this day is MLK Day. I want you to take a live look at your screen as we're following the very latest. This coming in from the King Center. They say an urgent need, and then they provided this quote on the left-hand side of your screen from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It says, quote, "We need leaders not in love with money, but in love with justice, not in love with publicity, but in love with humanity," end quote. So sharing that in real time. We also have another, this coming from the U.S. and India embassy. It says, "To other countries I may go as a tourist, but to India I come as a pilgrim." That's a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The U.S. and India Embassy, though, they put this out on MLK Day. They say, "Today we honor the life, memory, and legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Like Mahatma Gandhi, MLK was inspired by the power of nonviolence. Let us honor their legacies." And a quick content reminder for you right here on Live Now from Fox. We will have Inauguration Day 2025 in full, but for those of you all that want to see the very latest events as relates to MLK Day, we have you covered with a separate YouTube stream. You can click on that to get the latest MLK Day parade and, of course, King Center services. That will be provided by our content partners over at Fox 5 Atlanta. We see that Fox 5 DC, they are back sharing the very latest as relates to Inauguration Day 2025. Let's check in with them now.
Well, that's been a challenge for 20 years.
25 in Washington. Winds out the west, northwest here at 13. The feels like it's 14. Please take the cold seriously. We're not going to warm up today. It's going to stay very, very cold out there, I'm afraid. Even with sunshine, we're not warming it up a lot today or anytime soon. Tonight, tomorrow, we've got dangerous wind chills right through early Wednesday. Then it will finally warm up by the end of the week. 40s next weekend. Let's get there. Annie Mae.
If you're Chief, I feel like that literally makes you Weatherman 1.
It should, right?
Like,
yes.
I feel that's the only reason.
Right.
I feel like I'm Traffic Girl 1, only because there's nobody else.
Yeah, you're the one and only. That's
there you go,
better.
one and only, baby. Let's go. Right now, we'll take a look there in 395 express lanes on northbound direction, Alexandria Potomac Park area. That is closed due to inauguration events. That's until 1 a.m. The main lanes are open, so just keep that in mind as you are headed out the door. A lot of closures throughout the D.C. area, but your main roads are actually looking pretty good. I think a lot of people not working today or headed into the D.C. area. That's definitely your best bet unless you're going to all that parade stuff. Metro will probably be good for you. 395 northbound, 11 between the Beltway and the 14th Street Bridge. 95, you're all clear right now as of approaching 7 o'clock. Marissa?
Well, Instagram plans to release its own video editing software.
All right, they are sharing some tech news as it relates to Instagram. We'll use this time to take our final 2-minute commercial break of the hour. We'll be right back. One minute shy from the top of the 7 o'clock hour here on the East Coast. Good morning to you if you're just now tuning in. I'm Jeanne Francine. We continue to follow the very latest. We know this Monday, January 20th, it is MLK Day, also the day selected for Inauguration Day 2025. This coming into our live now from Fox Studios. If you haven't seen it, it's from Time Magazine. They have President-elect Donald Trump, who will soon be sworn in as the nation's 47th U.S. president. They have him sliding in there into the Oval Office, and then they present the statement saying he's back. Again, Donald Trump about to be sworn in as the nation's 47th U.S. president. It will be the culmination of a political comeback unlike anything we have even seen. Fox News correspondent Doug Luzader has more this morning from a frigid Washington, D.C. as the transition gets underway.
Well, as the Constitution directs, this will all happen at noon today here in Washington. Security around here is extremely tight, even as the event itself has been moved indoors. With the Village people taking the stage at a victory rally last night here in Washington, the president-elect was taking it all in and preparing for what comes next.
At noon, the curtain closes on 4 long years of American decline, and we begin a brand new day of American strength and prosperity, dignity and pride.
It had already been a long day. The incoming president and vice president participating in a wreath-laying ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery. The frigid temperatures and wintry mix not slowing Trump or his supporters, as thousands arrived in the nation's capital despite last-minute plans to move the inauguration indoors.
I understand, but really disappointed.
The last time the Capitol Rotunda had been decked out like this for an indoor inauguration was 40 years ago when Ronald Reagan was sworn in. And Trump's incoming press secretary dismissed suspicions that the decision was based on security concerns.
And they are unequivocally false. The inauguration was moved indoors because he wants to protect his supporters. It is going to be frigid tomorrow.
Frigid, but Trump's agenda will heat up fast, with his incoming team planning for a flurry of executive orders and directives today, more than 200 of them.
Somebody said yesterday, sir, don't sign so many in one day. Let's do it over a period of weeks. I said, like hell, we're going to do it over weeks. We're going to sign them at the beginning.
Those executive actions range from immigration issues to the reform of the federal bureaucracy to ensuring that TikTok remains operational. In Washington, Doug Luzader, Fox News.
All right, Doug, thank you so much for that detailed report. And as we further look into what you need to know to get informed and excited about this momentous inauguration day of 2025, let's check in with our content partners over at Fox 5 DC.
That is how you take command, ladies and gentlemen. The big story today, this hour, of course, Inauguration Day in America. In just a few hours, President-elect Donald Trump will be sworn in as the nation's 47th president.
He kicked off his inaugural celebrations over the weekend, which included the victory rally inside Capital One Arena yesterday. Ceremonies will continue there today, as well as at the U.S. Capitol.
Now, the inauguration was moved indoors due to the bitterly cold temperatures, and we have live team coverage for you this morning with crews spread out all over the district. That includes Stephanie Ramirez outside of Capital One Arena, Maureen Ume near the White House, Melanie Ollie keeping an eye for us on crowds taking Metro, and Tom Fitzgerald inside of the Capitol Rotunda.
All right, we're going to start things off, though, with Tucker and Annie Mae tracking your Inauguration Day commute and that chilly forecast. Tuck?
Steve, good morning. And yeah, the cold delivering here on the backside of the snow we had yesterday afternoon. These are actual air temperatures, and this number keeps falling. It's been falling since midnight. Want to emphasize how cold it is across the area. 25 right now in Washington. Lots of teens out there as well. Germantown 16, Haymarket 19. I'm not even showing you wind chills here. Winds out of the north and west. It's feeling like about 10 to 15 right now. Lots of protection of your skin if you're going to be outside later this morning or during the afternoon, as this cold will be dangerous for days to come. Not only today, but Tuesday and Wednesday, very cold as well. More details in just a moment. Annie Mae?
Thank you. 7:01. We'll take a look there at your Monday morning commute. Here's your overview in terms of your area main roads and around the Beltway. Looking fantastic for your drive times, but definitely seeing a lot of that slowdown in terms of emergency no parking, several street closures throughout the D.C. area, as well as updates to your metro. Just note there is an interactive map on inauguration.dc.gov that's actually great to show you all of those street closures. We have those on fox5dc.com, but just keep in mind several around the Capitol, around Capital One, so many places in the DMV. Steve?
Frigid temperatures did not stop people at all from standing in line to get into Capital One Arena yesterday, and the same deal once again this morning.
And Fox 5's Stephanie Ramirez, she is out there with the people on the ground with all the latest details, and woo, that crowd is huge behind you, Steph.
Getting bigger by the moment. Some folks telling us they got here at like 7:30 last night, essentially trying to get to the victory event that happened inside Capital One Arena with President-elect Trump last night, and then coming on, just staying put, trying to get inside. Now, we're going to try to show you the crowd. It's kind of harder to move around now at this hour with so many more people here. This is 9th and G Streets Northwest. This is the crowd that is getting into Capital One Arena for today's viewing of the inauguration and the inaugural parade. Now, we have some folks with us in line here. Thank you for talking with us. You told me you're local. Where are you coming from?
I'm coming from Arlington, Virginia. I go to college here.
And you told me you had a little spill as well. What happened?
I fell on the way up the escalator today in the metro. So I was walking up the metro, my foot caught, busted my head open. So under this, I got a bunch of gauze that my head is busted open.
And you are still here.
I'm still here, ready to go. I'm coming to see Trump.
Tell me why. Why do you want to be here today?
Because he's one of the best presidents. He's going to help us. There's so many people. So many things wrong with the justice system right now that we need to fix right now, and he's going to help us do that.
Now, you had tickets to get in, right, for the inauguration. Now it's moved inside. Tell me what direction you've gotten about going inside.
We've gotten not a lot of direction. Mostly was looking it up online, but thankfully we're committed to going. We're going to look everything up online, see where we could go. We got sent the ticket confirmation to come in here to Capital One Arena, and we got those tickets.
All right, well, thank you for talking with us this morning. I hope you feel better soon. But, guys, that's dedication here, staying in line for this. Now, 9th and G is where we're at, but telling people, because I'm being told that this line is going around for blocks, so you're going to be directed further out if you come here. If you live in the area and you're trying to get around, 9th and H, 3rd and G are your access points. Make sure you have your license to show proof of address. The security here is going to start opening at 7 o'clock, so around now we should be seeing the line start to move. A lot of people excited for it to do so. I'll send it back into you all.
Hey, Steph, real quick question for you. As folks that maybe are in their hotels this morning, I don't know if we get back to Steph real quick. Does everybody, Stephanie, have to have a ticket specifically like that woman said, or are these folks who are just hoping to get inside?
We found a lot of people that did have tickets. You are supposed to register, but we also know that there are some folks trying to get in to see if they can. We don't know what success they're going to have, but everyone who, for the most part, a lot of the folks who are in line are telling us they did register, which is what you're supposed to do.
All right, Stephanie Ramirez, thanks very much. Okay, that's outside Capital One Arena. Now we can get to Jacqueline, who's inside the arena this morning.
Hi, Jacqueline.
Hey guys, good morning. Yeah, I wanted to reiterate what Stephanie mentioned about where she is on 6th and G and the lines that were building up throughout that area. We got here at 5 o'clock this morning. We're coming through the security entrances and had to go through several different entrances. And I will tell you, those lines, they were starting to build up. So definitely keep that in mind. Heed that warning. Of course, she mentioned that those crowds will start coming into Capital One Arena any moment now. The security doors expected to open at 7 a.m. So any time, really, they should be making their way into Capital One Arena. Hopefully that'll provide some warmth for them as well, because many of them have been out there since even last night. Now, those freezing temperatures, of course, moving all of the festivities indoors from the National Mall. You can see from earlier, we have the crews here currently setting up the stage for tonight's big event. But last night, many of the supporters were here filling Capital One Arena for the victory rally, the president-elect's last rally before he becomes the 47th president of the United States. I do want to mention that all of the activities will take place in the Capitol Rotunda. We'll check in with Tom Fitzgerald throughout the morning as well. But the ceremony and the inaugural address will be live streamed here on the Jumbotrons at Capital One Arena. And then all the pomp and circumstance will make its way here to Capital One Arena, because that is where the presidential parade will be happening around 3:30 this afternoon. And going back to last night, President-elect Trump, as I mentioned, held that last victory rally. He talked a lot about what he looks forward to on doing on day one. He said he'd sign more than 200 executive actions to take place. Those actions will address border security, cost of living, energy, a lot of the things that he campaigned on. If we can take a soundbite of that, he mentioned that last night.
Within hours of taking office, I will sign dozens of executive orders. Somebody said yesterday, sir, don't sign so many in one day. Let's do it over a period of weeks. I said, like hell, we're going to do it over weeks. We're going to sign them at the beginning.
As I mentioned, those security doors should be opening any moment for the screenings for people to start coming in. The live streaming of the ceremony will begin at 10:30 this morning. Of course, the swearing in happening at noon, and then 3:30 p.m. will be the presidential parade here in Capital One Arena, where J.D. Vance and President-elect Trump will attend that and speak. Now, I did want to mention, you mentioned asking Stephanie about the tickets. She said a lot of people there had actual tickets, but we know that some 200,000 people were expected to be out on the National Mall. Capital One Arena only holds 20,000. We did reach out to the Presidential Inauguration Committee to ask for more clarification on whether it was a first-come, first-served basis or if those people that were coming in did have to have a ticket, but we have not yet heard back. Of course, we'll keep you updated. But for now, I'll send it back to you, Steve, Marissa.
All right, Jacqueline, thank you so much. A live view of the U.S. Capitol on this super bitterly cold, blustery cold morning today, Inauguration Day. Tucker, because of that, everything changed in terms of moving things indoors.
Yeah, from what I take, one of the coldest, inaugurations we've had in history. So yeah, we'll be in the. You're pretty much looking at your daytime highs right now. We're in the mid-20s, and that's only half the story here because the winds are going to pick up again. And for a time this afternoon, we'll probably have wind chills that are in the single digits and low teens. So very, very cold for the Washington area, and a very cold and very blustery day expected for us. Okay, 25 degrees to get your morning going at 7 a.m. in Washington. These are actual air temperatures. Dulles is 20 degrees this morning, and you can see that we've cleared out from the snow and the sleet and in some cases rain that we had yesterday. Fresh snowpack for many of us. Very slippery conditions. Things are really locked up. Even areas that were just wet last night have iced over. So sidewalks, roadways, driveways, all of it very much on the icy side. Be extra cautious out there early this morning. Walk like a penguin, and you will be in good shape. Yes, exactly. Amy's got it. Daytime highs only in the 20s, mid-20s latest afternoon. Notice those winds, northwest gusts into 25. Wind chills, low teens later today. You know me?
Tucker doesn't understand this feeling, but when I wear like a maxi dress and it's really tight, I walk like a penguin.
How do you know? I don't know the feeling.
I just have a feeling. That's for another time, that conversation. Well, look, GW Parkway, north and southbound, if you really have ever been on GW when there's any type of winter weather, you know it'll probably be closed there. McLean through Arlington, that's between the Beltway and Spout Run Parkway. You can use Clara Barton if you want to as an alternate this morning. 395 express lanes, northbound side of things, that's Alexandria, Potomac Park. That's closed as well due to that inauguration activity between the Beltway and the 14th Street Bridge. Main lanes are open, but keep that in mind this morning. Steve?
All right, Andy Mae, thanks very much. Due to the cold weather we've been talking about throughout the morning, of course, everything's being moved inside to the Cannon Rotunda.
And that's where we find Fox 5's Tom Fitzgerald live this morning with what this all means for ticket holders and some members of Congress. Tom, good morning.
Well, as you saw from Jacqueline's shot, a lot of what this is going to mean was that the people who donated to the Trump Inaugural Committee and got those tickets, which they paid a price for, are simply not going to be able to view this inauguration in person. There's a very basic math reason for all of this. The Capitol Rotunda, in its configuration today for the inauguration you're going to see later today, only really holds about 600 people. So the thousands that were expected on the west front of the Capitol simply are not going to fit into that space, hence the reason for this alternate location over at the Capital One Arena. Now, we're expecting the president is going to arrive up here on the Hill at about 10:30 this morning, according to the guidance we've been given. The actual oath of office for the president is going to start at 11:47 because by the constitutional mandate, the president has to be inaugurated at noon on January 20th. Now, the president-elect, as you heard just a minute ago, is not going to waste any time before he gets into work. We are hearing this morning that more than 200 executive orders are going to be signed into law today, everything ranging from border policy, DEI programs, and all sorts of other federal government and other policies that the incoming Trump administration had wanted to do away with. Normally, these ceremonies only take a few minutes. With 200 executive orders, that could stretch out longer than anything we've ever seen in a presidential inauguration. We'll send it back to you.
Tom, thanks very much. Tom Fitzgerald heading up our coverage at the Capitol throughout the day today. And of course, we're going to be going strong all day long. And you can do that. You can tune in right here. Or if you're not able to be near your TV, you can watch us on our Fox Local app, which you can download by scanning the QR code on your screen.
The other big story on this Monday, the Commanders. They are just one win away from going to the Super Bowl.
All right, so we appreciate our content partners there, Fox 5 DC, and as they are about to go to a quick break, we are going to do the same, but want to give you this quick content reminder. Inauguration Day 2025 live coverage starting at 8 o'clock this morning Eastern Time. But of course, I'm here in the host chair, Jeanne Francine, giving you all of that pre-coverage you need to know as it relates to safety and security, and also an itemized list of the events. 7:14 here on the East Coast. Let's go ahead and go to a quick 2-minute commercial break, our first one of the hour. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. 7:17 here on the East Coast, and such a beautiful shot. We just got into our Live Now from Fox studios outside of the White House with that beautiful blanket of snow there in the front. This next shot that we're giving, I'm going to pretty much give you a round robin right now across the D.C. area. This one takes us out to the steps of the U.S. Capitol, and as we continue to show you coverage, we know people pretty much spent the night, many of them, to try to get a front row seat to Inauguration Day 2025. Take a look. You can see a sea of red Make America Great Again hats and people who have flocked to see history in the making. And then this beautiful shot, pretty much a wide-scale view of what we can expect later today. And then if you look on the left-hand side and the right-hand side of your screen, you can see first responders as well as police officers, Secret Service. They are already there in full force, making sure things go safely and smoothly. 7:18 here on the East Coast. We see Fox 5 DC. They are back from a brief break. Let's check in with them now. So cold that the inauguration activities have been moved indoors today, but even if you're going to anything, you want to make sure you bundle up for sure.
It's beautiful. Look at the mall this morning, though, right?
It is.
Gorgeous. Fresh fallen snow in the area. Well, we got close to 1 inch of snow across the area yesterday, right, Tuck?
Well, it really depends. If you're off the north and west, it was more like 4 or 5 inches.
Wow.
I mean, really delivering as you get, a little further with a little elevation. Locally, yeah, ½ inch to 1 inch, but it was sleeting for a time. All of that is just locked up solid here this morning. So, with the wind and the ice or the cold temps overnight, it's all frozen. Secondary roads are not great.
That's why I took Uber. Learned my lesson.
Good decision. Or, yeah, take Metro. And, as you're headed to sidewalks, driveways, that kind of thing, just be extra cautious. You don't want to do a slip and fall in front of your family, right?
Or slip and slide.
Or a slip and slide. All right, let's do it. Out the door forecast. No warm-up in sight today. As advertised, it's going to be a very cold afternoon. 25 at 9 a.m. And then temperatures actually falling as that cold air continues to filter in from the northwest throughout the day. Will be 23 by 5 p.m. It should be a dry day, which is great news. And I do want to mention blustery winds here. I'll show you the wind chills in just a moment. Okay, these are actual air temperatures. They have fallen since I got here at about 5 a.m. And they will continue to kind of drift downward later this afternoon. 16 is the actual air temperature now in Gaithersburg, 22 in Leonardtown, 17 in Culpeper, downtown D.C., 25 degrees at Reagan National there, 18 in Hagerstown. Mixing winds out of the north and west, and your feels like is currently about 10 to 15. Feels like 14 right now in Washington, 4 in Gaithersburg. So this is why everyone was so concerned about people being outside for extended periods of time today. It's just not going to warm up, unfortunately. Some of the coldest air we've seen, or certainly this will be the coldest air mass we've seen so far this month of January. It's been a very cold January around here. All right, mentioned the snow accumulations yesterday. Heaviest amounts to the north and west, where we did get 4 or 5 inches of snow. Won't be the case today. It'll be all about sunshine and quiet conditions. Very cold tonight and very cold the next couple of days. Remember, our average temperature in January this time of year is mid-40s. We're going to be about 20 degrees below that the next several days. 27 this afternoon. Could be a few flurries tomorrow, 25, 23 on Wednesday. Hey, look at next weekend. Warm-up heat wave. It'll be 44 by next Sunday. Any May?
You and your heat wave comments when it's literally 12 degrees warmer. Right now, we'll take a look. 7:16 your time there, 270 southbound, about 30 minutes between 70 and the Beltway. Holiday, not really a lot of people traveling on your area main roads. You should be cautious as the potential for ice just because those colder temperatures. Some places in the area. This is the inner loop in Silver Spring. A crash there at Georgia Avenue. That has the left lane and shoulder blocked, but it's only about 7 minutes in terms of your delays from Georgia Avenue. So again, that's on the inner loop for your top side. So it's not really going to cause too many issues. The outer loop is actually looking fantastic there between 95 and 270. 9 minutes to take you that 8-mile stretch, going an average about 57, 60 miles an hour. Marissa?
Anime, thanks so much. Today's inauguration ceremony begins with a traditional prayer service at St. John's Episcopal Church. And our very own Maureen Ume, she's live outside of the church with a preview of one of the most private inaugural ceremonies. Maureen, good morning.
Good morning. We've been pushed back up from where the church is, but let me take you a little closer to show you the security measures in place. All last week, we're talking about just how intense this was, the most robust in presidential inauguration history. Take a look here. That is the White House there. Just to the left of it, your right, will be St. John's Church. You see these anti-scale fencing that's gone up. They've pushed us back quite a bit, but again, security very tight here outside the White House. As you mentioned, the services will get going about 8:15 this morning. That is when the president is expected to depart the White House, the president-elect, I should say, expected to depart the White House and then head to St. John's. Church service at St. John begins around 8:30, and then they'll head to Blair House. And at Blair House, this is where they'll have a chance to decompress before then going to the White House to meet with President Biden and Jill Biden for ceremonial tea. But coming back to the church service at St. John's Episcopal Church, this is a tradition about 92 years old. This church is known as the Church of Presidents. This is a symbolic traditional starting point for the day. It's really aimed at setting a tone of solemnity and reflection before the rest of the pomp and circumstance, if you will, of the day begins. We're told that the rector of the church, Reverend Robert Fisher's his name, has been meeting with the Trump team to plan out a service that he says will be brief, but still provide the incoming president with a chance to reflect on the 4 years that lies ahead. This is tradition. No cameras, no videos allowed inside. It's also an apolitical event. Now, after the service, that's when the president-elect again will head to Blair House and then eventually to have the tea with President Biden and Jill Biden. But back here live outside, you can see as things get ramped up, this is all getting started in less than an hour. You can see the security well in place here. Secret Service has pushed us out from where we were initially, and now you see the anti-scale fencing up. This is, again, around the perimeter of the White House. They have it around the Capitol. All of it meant to make sure that people are safe going here. You see some people trying to get into some points here. If they're not credentialed, they cannot. So Secret Service turning them away. to get through other entrances. This morning already we've seen border czar Tom Homan as he was heading into this perimeter, but you can see it ramping up now. We'll be here all morning trying to give you just a scene setter, letting you see how this is all happening as the inauguration gets underway. But again, 8:15 is when the President-elect Trump and the First Lady are expected to leave and enter St. John's Episcopal Church for the ceremony that starts this morning. That's the very latest from here. I'll send it back to you. More to come.
You can definitely see the activity picking up for sure. Well, for the first time in 33 years, the Commanders will head to the NFC Championship in a matchup against the Eagles.
Has it sunk in yet? Let's ask Makia. She's joining us in studio with more reaction.
Gosh, it still feels surreal.
All right, they are switching to sports, and understandably so. A lot of people in the D.C. area excited about the Commanders, but wanting to share this with you in real time, a live look there as we are excited about Inauguration Day 2025, and we see the tweets rolling in real time. You can see here at 7:24 on the East Coast how many dignitaries and officials are sharing the very latest as well. We do see that Fox 5 DC, they are back from a quick commercial break with some breaking news. Let's listen in.
All right, the breaking news from the White House on President Biden's final day as president. And one of his final acts, he has pardoned a number of people preemptively, including Dr. Anthony Fauci, retired General Mark Milley, members of the House committee that investigated the January 6th attack on the Capitol, and the police officers who testified before that committee. The move could guard them all from potential revenge by the incoming Trump administration. The decision by President Biden comes after President-elect Trump warned of an enemies list filled with those who have crossed him politically or sought to hold him accountable for his attempt to overturn his 2020 election loss. So that news just coming in from the White House.
7:25, weather and traffic on the 5s. We want to shoot things over to Tucker now to talk about this cold weather.
Yeah, cold's here to stay. 25 degrees, get your morning going. Good news with our forecast, the sun is back and it'll be bright sunshine today. The bad news is it feels like it's 14. That's the wind chill. That number's not going to budge at all today. In fact, at times it'll be in the single digits. So very cold temperatures, very slippery out there as well. Everything's frozen solid across the region. And we are just not going to see a big warm up anytime soon, or even a little warm up anytime soon. Cold afternoons and then bitter cold at night with daytime highs about 20 degrees below average right through Wednesday. It will get a little better by the end of the week. 27 this afternoon. Annie Mae.
Thank you. Right now, 7:25 your time. We'll go ahead and take a look at your roads again. Starting off their presidential inauguration, of course, going to be a lot of street closures around the D.C. area. So that's, of course, including the Capitol, the church this morning. That includes Capital One Arena. So many different areas you can actually see, of course, a lot of those red zones in and around the White House as well. Inauguration. You guys can use if you do want to see those individual street closures, or you can go to fox5dc.com. Of course, that includes the convention center for the ball as well. We've got metro updates, everything for you in terms of everything. Marissa.
Thank you for keeping tabs on it all for us, Annie Mae. Keep it right here to Fox 5 because we have much more Inauguration Day coverage for you all day long. In just a few hours, President-elect Trump will be sworn in as the next commander-in-chief at the U.S. Capitol. A parade will also take place later today at Capital One Arena. Again, team coverage. Don't go anywhere. You can stay right here with us here on Fox 5. You can also watch on our Fox Local app. We'll be right back.
Imagine the pleasure of waking up tomorrow.
7:27 here on the East Coast, and we are following breaking news this Monday morning right here on Live Now from Fox. This coming in just now into our Live Now from Fox studios, President Biden issuing preemptive pardons to Fauci, Milley, and others. Here's a quote from President Biden. It says, "That is why I am exercising my authority under the Constitution to pardon General Mark Milley, Dr. Anthony Fauci, the members of Congress and staff who served on the Select Committee, and the U.S. Capitol and D.C. Metropolitan Police officers who testified before the Select Committee." He goes on to say the issuance of these pardons should not be mistaken as an acknowledgement that any individual engaged in any wrongdoing nor should acceptance be misconstrued as an admission of guilt for any offense. He goes on to say our nation owes these public servants a debt of gratitude for their tireless commitment to our country. Now, just to provide some perspective for you of this breaking news, we continue to follow the Associated Press reporting that President Joe Biden pardoned Dr. Anthony Fauci, again, retired General Mark Milley, and members of the House committee that investigated the January 6th attack on the Capitol, using the extraordinary powers of his office in his final hours to guard against potential, quote, revenge by the incoming Trump administration. The decision by Biden comes after Donald Trump warned of an enemies list filled with those who have crossed him politically or sought to hold him accountable for his attempt to overturn his 2020 election loss and his role in the storming of the U.S. Capitol back on January 6, 2021. We know Trump has selected cabinet nominees who backed his election lies and who have pledged to punish those involved in efforts to investigate him. That's coming from President Joe Biden. And then we did read that graphic to you, this one moments ago, coming from President Biden. Now, we do know it's customary for a president to grant clemency at the end of his term, but those acts of mercy are usually offered to everyday Americans who have been convicted of crimes. But Biden has used the power in the broadest and most untested way possible to pardon those who have not even been investigated yet. And with the acceptance comes a admission of guilt or wrongdoing, even though those who have been pardoned have not been formally accused of any crime. So just sharing this with you in real time, President Biden issuing preemptive pardons to Fauci, Milley, and others. 7:30 here on the East Coast. Let's go to our second 2-minute commercial break of the hour. We'll be right back. .32 is the time here on the East Coast. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. I'm Jeanne Francine. Good morning to you if you are just now tuning in. I want to provide this beautiful live look as we are getting geared up for Inauguration Day 2025 right here on Live Now from Fox. Let's check back in with our content partners over at Fox 5 DC.
Great to see everybody on this Monday morning. It is coming up on 7:30, and look at that, a little bit of sun actually coming up over the nation's capital on this big day. It is MLK Day. It is also Inauguration Day. A lot of people in D.C., a lot of visitors to our nation's capital. We're going to take care of everybody this morning starting with weather and traffic updates. That's going to be in just a couple of minutes. But obviously, the conversation centers around politics today, Marissa.
Yeah, it's a big day for us here at Fox 5 in terms of coverage. We have our team all over the district. Well, it's 7:30 now, and it's time for our inauguration edition of Monday Morning Quarterbacks. And joining me right now is today's guest. We have Theron Bond. She's a Democratic strategist. We are working to get Chris Johnson on as well. He's a Republican strategist to give the other side. But since you're here, Theron, we'll begin with you. What do you expect to see and hear from Trump today during his inauguration speech?
Well, on the campaign trail, we heard I guess now President Trump, we can call him unity. We heard a lot about him bringing people together, but between the campaign trail and then once he became president-elect, that seemed to go away. So I think what he's going to talk about is everything he's going to do today. We don't even need to get to his first 90 days or his first 100 days because he has repeatedly indicated that he's going to sign at least 100 executive orders day one. So we should expect him to do what he said about mass deportation. We should expect him to do what he said about DEI. And whether or not we like it, we should trust what he says, no matter how egregious it may be, because he's got a lot more power behind him now. He knows where the bathroom is. He knows where the kitchen is. He's put all his loyalists around him, and he's going to execute what he thinks is a mandate for the American public. Now, there are at least, 50, 60, 70 million people who did not vote for him. So my concern would be about how he's going to reflect the values of those folks and make sure they're included in his administration.
But he is armed with the Electoral College votes that he got, including the popular vote that he won against Biden. So that is a key difference from the first term in terms of entering office. What then should the Democratic response be?
They got to get their message tight. I'm always going to be honest despite what side of the aisle somebody is on and despite what side of the aisle I currently am on, because we have to be honest about what went wrong, what went right, and what we need to do to go forward. And those may be three different things. What the Democrats really need to do is get their messaging tight.
The Chrome extension everyone will be using in 2025. I feel like I just found a Google cheat code. This Chrome extension lets you block ads or get paid to watch them. It's called Pi, and once I started using it, I was shocked at how much of my content was actually ads. Like this whole top row on Amazon, ads. But with Pi, I can actually see what it is I'm looking for. That's not even the best part. Pi will literally pay you to watch ads. And you're out here watching ads for free. Unlike other ad blockers, this one works because you can physically watch the ads disappear. It's literally so satisfying, like it scratches that itch in my brain. I predict that everyone and their grandma will be using Pi by 2025 because they already have thousands of users and 5-star reviews. Trust me guys, this is something you do not want to miss out on. Check out Pi today.
In any of those orders and any of the policies, cohesion that can come out of this?
I think we should hope for that because that's what unifying means. It means to work in a bipartisan effort to get what's best for all of the American people and not just a select few. But they don't have to. And anytime that we've seen Republicans in a supermajority in anywhere in the United States through state legislatures and general assemblies, and certainly not having, the Supreme Court on their side, the House, the Senate, and now the White House, they don't have to, and most times they don't. When they don't have to, they won't, and so I don't expect them to. They feel like they know what the American people want. They feel like they are reflective of that by and large, which is not true. This was one cycle, and we know the midterms are just 2 years away. And so I don't think they have to. I don't think they will. You would hope so. The only way it can happen, there's a caveat, is if some of the infighting that has happened around the reelection of Speaker Mike Johnson before he was reelected as Speaker, if there's some contention there still as we continue to go through these legislative actions, then there may be some room, but there's not a whole lot.
So we may be maybe in the same boat this time around, midterm elections 2026 and beyond. But we have to see ultimately what happens. Theron, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's a huge topic. We were hoping to get Chris Johnson on as well, but we certainly respect and appreciate your expertise.
Thank you.
All right, Steve.
Very much. We're also keeping an eye on any activity outside of Blair House, of course, right across the street from the White House. And that's where President Trump is going to be departing shortly to head, I mean, it's about a block or so to St. John's from there. So Maureen Ume is down in that area, but we're keeping an eye on the camera from the White House pointed at Blair House. So do expect some movement there shortly. That should happen within the next 30 minutes or so. With that, let's turn things back over to Tuck for everybody who's visiting or going to work today. Got to bundle up, Tuck.
Got to bundle up, and please take the cold seriously. Coldest air we've seen yet this month. It's been a very cold month here in Washington. These are actual air temperatures at 7 a.m. 21 in Beltsville, Bowie, 21 degrees. Springfield and Fairfax, 25. Okay, let's do some teens there. Leesburg, 18, 15 in Germantown, 25 in D.C. You mix in winds here out of the north and west, about 10 to 15. Real feel, the wind chill for everybody, about 10 to 15 across the region here. So bitter cold, here to stay for the day-to-day. Protect your skin and, you know, limit your time outdoors as much as you can. I know a lot of people are outside. Make sure you are prepared accordingly here, as it's not going to warm up. Should be a sunny day. It will never be a warm day. In fact, temperatures, you're pretty much looking at your daytime highs. They may be in the low 20s by late this afternoon. We will keep it dry is the good news. This afternoon, if you're going out tonight or tomorrow morning early, lots of cold weather, but not concerned about any additional snow accumulations the next couple days. I'm going to toss it out to Melanie for the latest. Mel.
Hey guys, we are out here at Metro Center at 12th and G. You know, it's not so bad if you've got about 4 or 5 layers on and the wind isn't blowing, and a lot of people keeping moving as well as they're making their way to their downtown celebration spots. Metro certainly the way to go. Many people heeding the advice, and we'll tell you what you need to know if you're still planning on coming downtown right after the break.
And we appreciate Fox 5 DC for that extensive coverage. And don't forget, right here on Live Now from Fox, we are keeping you informed with the very latest. Looking ahead today, President-elect Donald Trump to soon be sworn in as the 47th president, giving you a beautiful live look at the White House here at 7:40 on the East Coast. And on the left side of your screen, just some content reminders as we are gearing up to give you full Inauguration Day 2025 coverage. That live coverage starting at 8 a.m. Eastern Time with my colleague Stephanie Quinnew and also my colleague Andrew Kraft. But I'm here on the host chair right now. I'm Jeanette Francine, giving you what you need to know beforehand so you can prepare responsibly and make educated and informed decisions. Of course, making sure you are adhering to all of the safety and security measures that are in place as well. We see Fox 5 DC. They are back from a quick break. Let's check back in.
You need answered because this land is your land. Fox 5. Stay ahead.
Fox 5, the only local station working for you at 4 a.m., period. Jacqueline Matters, Stephen Braddock, start ahead, stay ahead. Fox 5 morning, weekdays at 4 a.m.
Well, there's our look at the White House and the Capitol this morning. Now, the bad news is, as we predicted and forecasted, it's very, very cold out there this morning. It's one of the coldest inaugurations that we've had here in Washington in modern times. But the good news is there's a little bit of sun out there, so hopefully that's going to make things at least feel a little bit warmer. It certainly is the main event today in D.C., and getting a spot to watch in person is highly coveted.
Yes, with more than 200,000 people expected to flood the city, riding the Metro comes with some very important changes. And here to update us on all of those changes is Fox 5's Melanie Alwick. Melanie, how can our trips be smoother for those who are heading down for the events today?
Well, I would say, number one, be prepared. Make sure that if you don't already have a smart trip card, that when you get into the station, don't only get your entry fee, but make sure you have enough for your exit fee as well. That's going to make things much, much easier when you're coming downtown. You can also pay attention to Fox 5 DC. We'll have all the changes, if there are any, to the Metro. And you can also sign up for Metro Alerts. That will also keep you updated as far as anything that might change as you're making your travels. But I can tell you that so far things have been really, really good here on the Metro. We're down here at Metro Center, which is kind of the main station. It has not been open. Things are moving very, very smoothly. We also want to show you just what it was like trying to get downtown earlier this morning. When we were coming in, certainly saw a lot of road closures. We saw security checkpoints as well. And if you are a D.C. resident, you had to show your D.C. ID in order to get into the vehicular zone. But again, most people heeding the idea of taking Metro. Metro actually has new signage in its system to greet all of these out-of-towners. It says, "Welcome to America's Metro system." The gates opened at 5 a.m. It is an all-hands-on-deck situation. The Emergency Operations Center opened yesterday, so they've been working on all of that. Metro Transit Police, they're fully staffed, but they're also being assisted by Metro Police from other transit agencies around the country. We've also seen members of the National Guard providing security in and out of the stations. Early trains were full of riders, and so far, everyone we've talked to has been in a celebratory mood.
Mainly it's because I'm freezing cold, but I got my beanie on, my Make America Great Again beanie. I got my Make America Great Again scarf. I got my Trump 47 gloves. And I do have a Trump shirt underneath. I got a pin too.
And I like the tie.
Yeah, I got a Republican tie because I'm a Republican. I think it's pretty cool.
So you're ready to survive the cold today?
That's right. I hate the cold too. I'm from California.
I came all the way here from Springfield. I'm out of Woodbridge, and I got my card, so I'm so excited.
How did you find the Metro system so far this morning?
Very well. I'm so appreciative of the staff and also the mayor. DC has been wonderful in basically making everything flow very nicely, having the support that we need to get in here and out of here the entire time. All the inauguration weekend has been very good to us.
So again, most people in a very happy mood. So here's the scene here at 12th and G. You can see this is the exit entrance to Metro Center. There's others also down at the other corner as well at 11th and 13th. And we can actually have a visual all the way down there of some of the big boards at Capital One Arena. But you see all of the trucks that are blocking the streets, the police vehicles with their lights as well, letting folks know that those are no-go zones. And even here, that's the way to Capital One Arena. If you come down G Street as well, and 12th here, this is 12th. That's where some people may decide to go if they want to try to catch the motorcade, which would be later today. We hear that it may be coming along Pennsylvania Avenue. And yesterday, D.C. Police Chief Pamela Smith said that would be an option for folks if they couldn't make it into Capital One Arena, that they could perhaps try to line up along the motorcade route as well. So far, so good from here at Metro Center. Let's send it back to you guys.
Yeah, relatively smooth. We want to keep it that way, too. We'll check back in with Melanie in a bit. Coming up, a consumer alert. Before you make breakfast this morning, there's a recall you need to know about involving a popular pancake and waffle mix. We'll have that detail next.
7:46 here on the East Coast. I'm Jeanne Francine. We're going to take our third 2-minute commercial break of the hour. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. I'm Jeanne Francine. It's Monday, January 20th, and we are keeping a close eye on Inauguration Day 2025. But we also know today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Take a look at your screen as this just came down from the White House. They say on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, we recommit to being guided by Dr. King's light. We must continue his march forward to a more perfect union. And right here on Live Now from Fox, we've got you covered. Of course, we will have extensive coverage as it relates to all you need to know Inauguration Day 2025. But of course, for those that would love to see the latest with MLK Day, we will have a Martin Luther King Jr. service provided by our content partners out in Atlanta, Georgia. If you'd like to watch that, it starts at 9 a.m. this morning Eastern time. All you have to do is scan that QR code on your screen and you'll be able to watch it live, raw, and unfiltered on our YouTube page. So giving you a quick moment to scan that QR code, and there we go. All right, let's check back in with our content partners over at Fox 5 DC.
Some businesses will certainly be closed to commemorate not the inauguration, but Martin Luther King Jr. Day. That's also today. New York Stock Exchange, no trading. Most government offices like the post office already would have been closed for MLK Day. Inauguration Day, obviously a federal holiday. FedEx will have some business operations. Stores like Walmart, Target, Costco, and others will stay open to serve customers. So a lot of people already have been planning for the three-day weekend for federal employees, and just a busy, busy day here in the nation's capital.
Speaking of which, this live view of the U.S. Capitol, we know that the inauguration will take place indoors inside of the Capitol Rotunda. In fact, Tom Fitzgerald, our senior reporter, he's there. We will get back to our crews that are fanned out across the district for today's festivities. And we're going to also get to our crew in-house, Chief Meteorologist Tucker Barnes, to talk about your weather in 10 seconds.
It's our winter savings event. Buy one window, get one 40% off plus no interest.
All right, so they abruptly went to a break. So let's go ahead and do the same. I'm Jeanne Francine. We'll be right back in just 2 quick minutes. Don't go anywhere. $7:53 here on the East Coast. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox, and good morning to you. If you're just now tuning in, I'm Jeanne Francine, giving you all things MLK Day as it's Monday morning, January 20th. But of course, we are keeping a close eye on priority coverage, and that's Inauguration Day 2025. I want to give you a live look at the latest tweets coming down on X on this Monday morning as relates to President-elect Donald Trump. We know we are just hours away from him being sworn in. Donald Trump about to be sworn in as the nation's 47th U.S. president. It will be the culmination of a political comeback unlike anything we have ever seen. Fox News correspondent Doug Luzader joins us from Washington this morning with cold temperatures as the transition gets underway.
Well, as the Constitution directs, this will all happen at noon today here in Washington. Security around here is extremely tight, even as the event itself has been moved indoors. With the Village people taking the stage at a victory rally last night here in Washington, the president-elect was taking it all in and preparing for what comes next.
At noon, the curtain closes on 4 long years of American decline, and we begin a brand new day of American strength and prosperity, dignity and pride.
It had already been a long day. The incoming president and vice president participating in a wreath-laying ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery. The frigid temperatures and wintry mix not slowing Trump or his supporters, as thousands arrived in the nation's capital despite last-minute plans to move the inauguration indoors.
I understand, but really disappointed.
The last time the Capitol Rotunda had been decked out like this for an indoor inauguration was 40 years ago when Ronald Reagan was sworn in. And Trump's incoming press secretary dismissed suspicions that the decision was based on security concerns.
And they are unequivocally false. The inauguration was moved indoors because he wants to protect his supporters. It is going to be frigid tomorrow.
Frigid, but Trump's agenda will heat up fast, with his incoming team planning for a flurry of executive orders and directives today, more than 200 of them.
Somebody said yesterday, sir, don't sign so many in one day. Let's do it over a period of weeks. I said, like hell, we're going to do it over weeks. We're going to sign them at the beginning.
Those executive actions range from immigration issues to the reform of the federal bureaucracy to ensuring that TikTok remains operational. In Washington, Doug Luzader, Fox News.
Doug, thank you so much for that detailed report. 7:56 here on the East Coast. And I want to give you a live look, taking us out to our nation's capital, again, hours away from President-elect Donald Trump to be sworn in as the nation's next commander-in-chief. We see that our content partners at Fox 5 DC, they are back from a quick break, so let's check in with them now.
Good morning. Cold moving in overnight here, and after the snow that we had yesterday and the sleet and the rain for parts of the area, it's just plain old cold and blustery for everybody. Mother Nature delivering some of the coldest air we've seen in a couple of years' time over the next couple of days, as we'll have single-digit wind chills and daytime high temperatures only in the low to mid-20s this afternoon. It's going to be very, very cold around here. All right, I know what we're all looking for, some warmer temperatures. No time soon, but hey, why not already look forward to it? By next weekend, we should be in the 40s. So there you go. Something to look forward to a little down the road. All right, morning numbers. Let's do it. If you're just waking up and checking out your numbers, those are actual air temperatures. 16 right now in Gaithersburg, 25 in D.C., 22 in Leonardtown, 19 in Culpeper. You can see the teens there to the north and west. You mix in winds out of the north and west, and we have wind chills right now, mostly in the single digits and low teens. I think the last time I checked the wind chill in D.C., it was 12. So it's dangerous cold out there for sure, and just not going to warm up at all today. In fact, overnight, our temperatures have been falling here as that cold air has been moving in on that northwest wind. So very blustery at times today. Winds will be gusting at times 25 to 30. Daytime highs low to mid-20s. You get a real tough combination there with wind chill that's going to be, again, not budging a lot this afternoon. Single digits and at times teens, but it will be a very, very cold afternoon. Should be a good-looking day. We've got sunshine at the moment and plenty of sun to look forward to over the next couple of days. Cold, bitter cold tonight, single digits by tomorrow morning for much of the area, and not much of a rebound Tuesday or Wednesday. We remain in the 20s here with some pretty extreme cold for the mid-Atlantic over the near term. All right, just want to give you a heads up here. Thank you, Matt. That we've got a advisory here for later tonight, and this is put up by the Weather Service, what we call cold weather advisory, as wind chills later this evening after the sun goes down will likely be below zero. So again, it's pretty extreme cold for the Washington area. Temperatures running about 20 degrees below average. Look at your morning lows. 14 tomorrow. These are in D.C. 12 on Wednesday. Annie Mae?
So safe to say, like, not a good UV day, probably.
A good what day?
UV day.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're not going to get a lot of that.
Probably not.
Very low.
Right now, we'll take a look at inauguration activity. Of course, a lot of different areas, different roads in the D.C. area going to be closed for you this morning. We'll take a look at that interactive map there, inaugurationDC.gov. Really a great place for you to go if you want to see those individual road closures. We also have the full list on fox5dc.com, but your best bet really, if you are headed into the D.C. area, if you're headed to the inauguration parade, is really going to take Metro. They do actually have several Metro. Christine, can you hit the thing for me? My clicker isn't working. But they do have some Metro closures as well that you do want to take note of. Yeah, see, my maps don't want to work. I was really on a roll. There are several Metro closures for you. We'll get to this in a little bit more in the next 10 minutes, guys.
All right, Annie Mae, thank you so very much. All right, let's get to a Fox 5 exclusive right now on this Monday morning, or news alert, I should say. Costco's Teamsters Union says its members voted in favor of authorizing a strike. So if a new contract's not reached by the end of January, the union is demanding fair wages and benefits that it says, quote, reflect the company's enormous success. Costco has yet to comment, though, on that announcement.
President-elect Trump has sworn to issue a blizzard of executive orders on day one, and TikTok may be at the top of his list.
All right, let's get to Stephen in the newsroom with the latest details.
All right, guys. Well, TikTok is back, and the crowd goes wild. Cheers of millions of users in the U.S. who saw their logins temporarily blocked in response to Sunday's federal ban prohibiting the app from being accessed by millions of Americans. Well, President Joe Biden signed a law requiring TikTok's parent company, China-based ByteDance, to sell the app to a U.S. company by Sunday or shut down. Well, that didn't happen, and it did shut down. The law was upheld by the Supreme Court after many on Capitol Hill accused TikTok of being a threat to national security. But yesterday, Trump did a little backpedaling after first leading the call to ban the Wide app worldwide. Take a look.
Who in this audience goes with TikTok? Many? Yeah, very popular. We have to save it, a lot of jobs.
Well, in a Truth Social post, President-elect Trump has promised to grant TikTok a 90-day extension to find a U.S. buyer. And, of course, there's a short list of buyers, of people wanting to get their hands on it. So we'll just have to see. One of them, Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, as well as a real estate agent, a real estate billionaire who's really looking to get their hands on their app. So
if I was a savvy marketer, I'd be selling the shirts that said, I survived 15 hours without TikTok.
Right, exactly. We all did.
Yeah, and that was survival of the fittest for those who love the app for sure. Thanks, Stephen. Well, Instagram planning to release its own video editing software. The social media platform says users will soon have the option to edit videos on a phone through a separate app called Edits. A launch date is set for sometime in February or March.
All right, got to make those reels easier to edit. Quaker Oats recalling limited numbers of the 32-ounce size Pearl Milling pancake and waffle mix. FDA says the products have an undeclared milk allergen and could cause serious or life-threatening reactions. These boxes were sold in 11 states in the South, Midwest, and West. FDA recommends consumers with those boxes get rid of them immediately.
Well, it's a huge week for the DMV, and not just because of the inauguration. The Commanders are headed to the NFC title game. First time in 33 years. We're going to take a look at those ticket prices, just how high they are after the break.
FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
A little stiff. What, you got a job interview?
Welcome to Live Now from Fox. On this historic Monday morning, a truly historic day as President-elect Trump will be sworn in as the 47th president of the United States. This is the second time Trump is sworn in as president. The first time was in 2017 when he was sworn in as the 45th president. Trump will become the second president to serve non-consecutive terms, with Grover Cleveland winning elections in 1884 and 1892. And also, for the second time in history, Inauguration Day and MLK Day will be observed on the very same day. Many services and events happening today, and we do have a programming note to let you know about that. We will be streaming the MLK Jr. Day celebration in Atlanta, Georgia. That is set to begin at 9 a.m. Eastern time, and you can watch this live, raw, and unfiltered on our YouTube page. All you have to do is scan the QR code right there on your screen for that continuing coverage. And also another truly historic day, as well as you are once again taking a live look at the nation's capital. Preparations already underway as Trump will be sworn in as the 47th president of the United States. We do want to welcome you into our coverage right now. Good morning to you. I'm Stephanie Quinu. Time right now is 8:05 Eastern, 5:05 Pacific on the historic day, and another live look right here at the nation's capital on this 60th presidential inauguration day. We are also talking about frigid temperatures in the 20s all day, with feel-like temperatures even colder. As you can imagine, that has shifted plans for just the second time, with the swearing-in ceremony to be held inside the Capitol Rotunda. Former President Ronald Reagan's second swearing-in ceremony back in 1985 was the first inauguration to be held in the Capitol Rotunda because of the cold temperatures. We will be airing all of the services, the events, the swearing-in ceremony, and the remarks through the day today and into the night, as there are expected to be 3 inauguration balls as well. Time right now is 8:06 Eastern. What we're going to do is step away for a brief 2-minute break, continuing our coverage after that. Stay with us. Thank you for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. I'm Stephanie Quinu. As we begin a truly historic day, Inauguration Day 2025, and already in our studios, we have a number of live looks just to set the stage for this historic moment. This is a live look outside of Blair House. This is where President-elect Trump is currently stationed before he begins the day with event after event, of course, culminating in the swearing-in ceremony set to begin at around noon Eastern time. He is inside right there, and in fact, you can see that this dark green tarmac is placed over the entryway as added security as he and soon-to-be First Lady Melania Trump make their way first to a church service. We also have a live look right here outside the church as we are expecting a service to get underway in just about an hour and a half. And we continue to have so many live looks throughout the day. This is a live look at 4 different areas as we continue our live coverage right there. You can see the state capitol and you can see other major and historic locations and landmarks right there. Truly a historic day as President-elect Donald Trump will be sworn in as the 47th president of the United States. The second time, of course, that he is sworn in as president. The first time 8 years ago when he was sworn in as the 45th president. And as we have been talking about for days now, preparations had to pivot last week because of these historic frigid temperatures. I just took a look at our Fox 5 DC team. They have the temperatures in the 20s already, but the feel-like temperatures, because you have to factor in the wind chill, even colder in the teens. So that has shifted the plans for just the second time. And now today, the swearing-in ceremony will be held in the Capitol Rotunda. The second time, of course, the first time being with former President Ronald Reagan back in 1985. The theme for today's ceremony, Our Enduring Democracy, a Constitutional Promise. And joining me right now is my colleague Andrew Kraft to talk more about what we can see in the hours ahead. But Andrew, I have to make note because already it's only 8:10 Eastern time and breaking news, historic moments already underway in the early morning hours on this Monday.
Stephanie, good to be with you. And this is going to be a historic day, and it already is somewhat shaping up to be a historic day as well, because we got a statement in from President Biden last hour, and obviously President Biden has mere hours left in his presidency, and he had confirmed for a lot of us what was being speculated on and talked about in the last few months on whether or not some of these individuals over the last 4 years, especially in the wake of January 6, 2021, the Capitol riot, some of these individuals who were responsible in investigating that riot and who were very, very critical of then former President Donald Trump, of course, now President-elect Trump. Well, he has preemptively pardoned some of them, members of the January 6th House Select Committee like Liz Cheney.
Free Tax USA, where federal filing is always free with no games or pricing gimmicks. Because choosing your tax software shouldn't be a guessing game. Companies may claim their federal tax filing is free, that is, minus the hidden fees, high prices, unwanted add-ons. No way. And when you're ready to submit, it's not really free. Not this year, my friend. You have found Free Tax USA. Say goodbye to forced upgrades and unexpected fees. The only trick up our sleeve is free federal tax filing for everyone. Plus, filing a state return is less than $20. Go to freetaxusa.com.
ED has affected my confidence. My wife, Sherry, says it doesn't matter, but it matters to me. I found Hims. The app is easy. It's on my phone. I can order anytime I want. Hims has been the difference in my confidence.
It was better for both of us.
Get treatment for ED with doctor-trusted medication. Get started today at hims.com.
Talking about pardoning in the context of Donald Trump. And today, on the morning of inauguration, outgoing President Biden chooses to issue these preemptive pardons. So I thought this was quite striking. This is going to be something that might be just a historical footnote, but the timing of it, nonetheless, is worth acknowledging.
And Andrew, I did want to share the full statement from President Biden, as you were mentioning, issuing those preemptive pardons to Fauci, Milley, and others. And what President Biden said as he did issue that is, quote, "That is why I am exercising my authority under the Constitution to pardon General Mark A. Milley, Dr. Anthony S. Fauci, and members of Congress and staff who served on the Select Committee, and the U.S. Capitol and D.C. Metropolitan Police officers who testified before the Select Committee. The issuance of these pardons should not be mistaken as an acknowledgement that any individual engaged in any wrongdoing, nor should acceptance be misconstrued as an admission of guilt for any offense. Our nation owes these public servants a debt of gratitude for their tireless commitment to our country." And as you mentioned, Andrew, making the most out of the waning hours of his presidency, of course, there was some controversy. There was discussion, weeks ago, whether President Biden would, in fact, do this, of course, weighing in, what people might take away from these preemptive pardons. But it does seem in this political climate that he felt it necessary to do so. And also looking ahead, President-elect Trump set to sign as many as possibly 200 executive orders today. So this is an incredibly busy day as the outgoing president and the incoming president really making the most of Inauguration Day 2025.
Yeah, this is somewhat of a kind of last parting shot, if you will, from Biden to Trump. Obviously they're huge political foes, but today will be a day of unity. That's what inaugurations always shape up to be. You're going to see the Bidens and the Trumps kind of traveling to the Capitol together for the swearing in the rotunda. They will have tea at the White House together, and CNN is reporting Biden does plan to leave Donald Trump a letter. That's been this kind of modern presidential tradition started by Ronald Reagan. And so I would imagine that anyone who can get their hands on that letter or ask Donald Trump or Biden about what it says, I would be interested to see what that says. But CNN is reporting that today, that Biden will leave Trump a letter as he leaves the White House here. But it just goes to show you, Stephanie, how even 4 years on, the kind of specter of the 2020 election even, and the January 6th Capitol riot, it is very, very present here. CNN also reporting, Stephanie, that Trump and his team have drafted a slate of pardons for people convicted for their role on January 6th during the Capitol riot, storming the Capitol. So I just thought that's worth acknowledging, even as we are 4 years removed. It's 2025. The specter of January 6th, the specter of even the pandemic with the preemptive pardon of Fauci are still alive and well. And these have kind of lingered with Biden and Trump throughout the last 4 years.
And it's been a contentious last 4 years and a very busy 4 years. I did want to share with our viewers once again the outside of Blair House. So this is where presidential guests stay, and President-elect Trump and soon-to-be First Lady Melania Trump are inside as they get ready to attend this church service. And you see the tarp over the entryway right here. Andrew, as we take a look at the next number of hours that we are going to be covering, I'm interested to ask you this. What are you particularly focused in on? And anything that you're keeping a very close eye on yourself?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, Stephanie, this was all kind of changed on a dime on Friday. They had to, move it from outside to inside. And so since Reagan in '85, obviously I wasn't born yet. I don't think you were born yet. So we haven't seen this. At least I haven't seen this. And so it'll be interesting to see the setup, how it is done, how packed the rotunda is going to be. Remember, there were a lot of tickets issued for many supporters of President-elect Trump. Lawmakers got a host of tickets to give out to some of their supporters, family members, friends, and the like. And so all those chairs were set up in front of the Capitol there, like they always are every 4 years on the National Mall. And that's not going to be the case this year. It does, might I add, it looks really cold in Washington. It looks frigid. You can kind of see the frost on the grass of the National Mall. And we were showing some of the the temperatures of previous coldest inaugurations. This one is going to be cold. And so that's kind of what I'm going to be looking for, you know, how this will be choreographed at the pomp and circumstance. Will it be the same inside as it is outside? And then, of course, Stephanie, the speech. I'll be looking to see what President-elect Donald Trump says to the American people. To your point, and I think we got to acknowledge this, we're going to reiterate this fact all throughout the course of the day, the conception of the presidency only one other time has been non-consecutive, and that is, of course, with Grover Cleveland, 2 non-consecutive times. I have in front of me the date, March 4th, 1893. That was the last time we saw the swearing in of a non-consecutive executive. And we're going to see that today. And so I just think it's interesting how history kind of matches a little bit. It doesn't often repeat, but it definitely does rhyme. And so we're going to see that. I'm going to be comparing the speech Trump gave in 2017 to the speech he's going to be giving today. And Fox News, Stephanie, has obtained some excerpts of the speech. If we have them, maybe we can read some of them out for our viewers.
Yeah, let me call up for our senior producer, Julianne, to bring those up. But as we do await some of the statements from the speech that we are expecting President-elect Trump to be sharing with with the audience and with the nation, truly, just on the side panel right here, you were mentioning, and we were sharing with you, I'm going to bring this look back right here because, Andrew, you were talking about, of course, the pivot that everyone has had to do because of the frigid temperatures, and you were mentioning the mall. This would have been packed with people. This mall would have been shoulder to shoulder with supporters and with people who just wanted to be part of this truly historic moment. Now it is a ghost town. There is absolutely nobody on this mall, and that really shifts that tone potentially. We do know that around 600 people are allowed inside the Capitol Rotunda, and then we also know that there's going to be a rally afterwards inside the Capital One Arena where about 20,000 people are able to get inside. But that, of course, leaves out so many other people who have made the trek, the journey to Capitol Hill to witness this moment as President-elect Trump will now officially be the 47th president of the United States. And we've been hearing from them, many expressing their disappointment and their understanding, noting that these temperatures are incredibly dangerous. But it is going to be interesting, Andrew, as you mentioned, how the tone shifts at all, and whether the smaller audience might influence what Trump shares, I have to imagine, as he is expected to deliver remarks inside the Capital One Arena, that also might be a little bit different as well. Trump saying, of course, he's going to join the crowd there after he takes the oath of office, wanting to thank all of those who have supported him through the years, as you mentioned, very contentious over the past 4 years as well. This is what we're going to do, Andrew. We're going to step away for a 2-minute break as our producer is working to get those full screens with us. We're going to continue our coverage of Inauguration Day 2025 after this 2-minute break.
Cold brew from Starbucks. Venti cold brew.
Welcome back to Live Now from Fox on this Inauguration Day 2025. And joining me to further discuss what we're going to be seeing in the coming hours on this truly historic day is my colleague, Andrew Kraft. And Andrew, we do now have some of the remarks that we are expecting President-elect Trump to share with the nation truly. And I did want to bring some of those up right now as we take a look. It says, quote, "I return to the presidency confident and optimistic that we are at the start of a thrilling new era of national success. A tide of change is sweeping the country. Today, I will sign a series of historic executive orders. With these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. My message to Americans today is that it is time for us to once again act with courage, vigor, and the vitality of history's greatest civilization." And so those are just some of the experts that you were mentioning. You know, Andrew, what do you make of the tone of the message that President-elect Trump is sending to the nation and truly the world today?
Yeah, I mean, Stephanie, it was reported, and Trump had said as much to his rally crowd yesterday at the Capital One Arena, that this is going to be a message of unity, of trying to bring the country together after presidential elections. Each and every election is hard fought, is contentious, and that through those excerpts we just showed, it is purely evident. Of course, back in 2017, there was this very now kind of infamous passage that Trump delivered in his inaugural address, kind of called the American Carnage section, that still people do discuss, and that kind of was just a moment in that speech. It was one of the shortest inauguration speeches, I think, at that time since Jimmy Carter. It only lasted about 17 minutes for Trump's first inaugural, so I'll be interested to see how long his second inaugural speech is today. But a lot of people kind of fixated on that passage, kind of casting the United States, casting the American people and society in somewhat of a harsh glow. And people have not forgotten that. And so you just saw some of those excerpts there, more of a unified tone, definitely. But I think, Stephanie, it's worth kind of taking stock of this incredible American political comeback. And that is not an opinionated statement. That is not a subjective statement. That is just pure political fact. Donald Trump, when he left the White House in 2021, he didn't even attend President Biden's inauguration. He was kind of cast off in the wake of the January 6th Capitol riot. Not many people thought he had a political future ahead of him. I mean, usually when you lose presidential elections, you do kind of go off into the political wilderness. Well, that's not, as we know, what Donald Trump is made of. And he obviously got into the race in late 2022, and then the primary season got into full swing. But if you just take stock, pause, consider this incredible American comeback, he was all but left for politically dead in the wake of the January 6th Capitol riot, the allegations that he made that the 2020 election was rife with fraud, that he didn't actually lose the 2020 election. And now he is going to be sworn in as the 47th president in just a matter of hours. And it just shows you kind of where the country is right now, where the country is going. Also, some of the, alleged problems that the Democratic Party had in the wake of President Biden's kind of disastrous debate performance on the stage there in Atlanta in June. And just knowing how we got here today, it is quite remarkable.
It really is. And we're taking a live look outside Blair House, where we are expecting President-elect Trump and soon-to-be First Lady Melania Trump to leave. And first, they're going to be attending a church service. But you mentioned just the difference between the first term when Trump was president to now. And we're also seeing the political and social landscape changing, Andrew, and we're going to see that inside the Capitol Rotunda as we are expecting quite a few business people to be attending, including Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and also, the head of TikTok, which, of course, continues to dominate the headlines. Can you speak to the change in all of that? Because that is definitely not what we saw the first time around when Trump was president. And also, you mentioned the tone of the speech, but also, as we were sharing with our viewers last week, the official portrait was very different. The first time that Trump unveiled his official presidential portrait, he was smiling. This time around, very serious, looking straight at the camera. What do you make of that? Obviously sending a signal to the public and to the world with not just his portrait, but of course, who's going to be attendant in just a number of hours.
Yeah, I think it's worth taking note as well, just the mood in Washington right now as Donald Trump is about to be sworn in for the second time. I don't know if you remember this, Stephanie, but back in 2017, a lot of people who couldn't even conceive of Donald Trump in the White House, some of his most strident critics, we're still reeling. We're still in shock that Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton and that he was going to be president. And then in Washington specifically, you could argue that, no one wanted to touch Trump or those that he picked for his cabinet or those that he picked to work in his White House with a 10-foot pole. Now I'm hearing from my sources on the ground, from those that I know who are attending the inauguration, that Washington, D.C. Is, at least for today and maybe for the next 4 years, MAGA, MAGA, MAGA. I was hearing that people could not get into some of the inaugural balls because they were so crowded. There's definitely a different sense. There's a different feeling that Trump will be back in Washington this time around than the previous time around, that he is being accepted with open arms by those who had previously cast him off, rejected him. You mentioned those tech titans, Stephanie, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos. You'll remember in the wake of January 6th, the Capitol riot, Trump was kicked off Instagram, he was kicked off Facebook, he was kicked off Twitter, and now the CEO of Meta will be sitting, I believe, in the Capitol Rotunda watching Donald Trump be sworn in. So there's been this overture by these tech titans in Silicon Valley to get on Trump's good side, to make nice with him, and that is a huge change that we saw from the last time around.
How much a difference 8 years makes, Andrew, as we continue to take a look outside Blair House. We are expecting President-elect Trump to depart shortly and then make his way here. This is St. John's Church. This is where there will be a church service. We are also expecting Vice President-elect to attend as well alongside his wife and soon-to-be First Lady Melania Trump. We're going to step away for another break here on Live Now from Fox. And as Andrew and I have been mentioning, security, that has drastically changed as most, if not all, of these events are going to be taking place indoors today because of the frigid temperatures. Coming up after the break, we're going to be speaking with Bobby McDonald, a former Secret Service agent, to talk more about the security measures on this historic day as we continue to look ahead to the swearing-in ceremony on this Inauguration Day 2025. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox on this Inauguration Day 2025. I'm Stephanie Quinu. As we look ahead to the swearing-in ceremony of President-elect Donald J. Trump, that is set to start at around 11:30. The official swearing-in set to start at around noontime. We continue to share some live looks with you across Capitol Hill, and this is a live look right here outside Blair House. This is the official guest residence of the White House, and President-elect Trump and First Lady Melania Trump are inside, about to depart for St. John's Church as they attend a church service right there. You can see the vast number of Secret Service vehicles outside the residence, and from time to time the camera pans around, sharing with us the vast number of law enforcement here on Capitol Hill. Of course, the strategy has changed drastically now that most, if not all, of the events being held today will be held indoors. But to talk more about the security measures, I do want to bring in Bobby McDonald, who is a former Secret Service agent, as well as a lecturer of criminal justice at the University of New Haven. And Bobby, we appreciate you joining us here for our live coverage on Inauguration Day 2025.
Good morning, Stephanie. Always great to be back with you.
So as we're taking a live look at the Secret Service vehicles right here, and the Secret Service, again, has been such a topic of discussion in the past number of years. This is a very different inauguration. There have been 2 attempts on President-elect Trump's life as he was campaigning for president. I have to imagine that the strategy in place today is a little different and has evolved in light of what has happened in the previous months.
Well, you're absolutely right. To a point, I think that the eyes of the world obviously were going to be on the Secret Service today and have been since July to make sure that they're dotting all their I's and crossing all their T's. I think they're going to have a new director shortly and get them pointed in a direction, hopefully, that will keep them in a positive light and continuing to do the good work that they do every day. This is a national special security event, which brings a level of planning that is unprecedented. It is the highest level security event that we have in the United States, and we've had 83 of them so far since that designation was developed by the Department of Homeland Security. So the entire plan here has been worked on for about 12 months. Various committees deal with communications and various closures and work with all of the different entities. They brought in a number of police officers from around the country and deputized them in the district to make sure that all of this security plan is implemented properly and that we make sure that it's a safe event, not only for the protectees, for Congress and everybody that's involved, but also all of the people that are attending are also encumbered by that blanket of protection.
And let's talk about that as well. You were mentioning all of the attendees, and this is another look right there at just the vast number of security just at this location alone. That has also changed, but now we have the issue where it's no longer hundreds of thousands of people in the mall specifically for this event. Many are going to be allowed inside the Capital One Arena. But what about the people who had tickets and they're not able to attend? They're still in Washington, D.C. They're going to try and view this some other way. How does that change the strategy? And is there additional concern, or does that take the weight off, perhaps, from the Secret Service and the various law enforcement agencies that are handling this?
Well, there are a number of contingencies that are built into place to include a cold weather situation. Having been posted on that podium in 1997 at the inauguration of Bill Clinton, I can tell you how cold that can get down there. So very understandable that the safety of people and also the law enforcement officials that would be standing outside for hours was very important here, and the decision was made to move it inside. Now, the Secret Service needs to be flexible and hopefully has built flexibility into its security apparatus to be able to encumber all of these different changes, all of these different places to now secure based upon changes in the schedule.
And Bobby, I just wanted to let our viewers know we are seeing Vice President-elect J.D. Vance and his wife Yusha right there walking into St. John's Church as they are expected to attend a service. But as they're walking inside, we did see, of course, again, as you mentioned, to your point, a large number of Secret Service agents. As you see the line of agents right there, no doubt security top of mind. You did mention, though, that you were there for former President Bill Clinton's inauguration. You know, obviously there's a lot that the public cannot know when it comes to security in place. But what can you share with us in terms of level of protection, in terms of, and I also want to bring this in terms of the footprint of protection. What's the perimeter like when you're talking about a swearing-in ceremony, an inauguration day, where there are numerous locations and you have, you know, the president, the first lady, and others moving from location to location for hours?
Yeah, again, all the different plans of how those transportation movements are going to be made, where they're going to arrive at all of these venues. All of the venues that the president, the vice president are going to be at today are all well known to the Secret Service and well known to the DC Metropolitan Police. We've done numerous events there for years. The insides, the outsides, the perimeter is very large down in DC today. You can see in your picture in the shot there that there really aren't any pedestrians milling around. They are being kept well outside of that security perimeter. A lot of familiar faces that I see there from my time with the Secret Service, a lot of quality people that have put in a lot of hard work to make sure that this day goes incredibly well and is, again, safe for all those involved.
And right now we are taking a live look, as you can see the convoy right there departing Blair House, as we are expecting President-elect Trump and soon-to-be First Lady Melania Trump depart, as they are set to arrive at St. John's Church in just a matter of moments. Bobby, you were mentioning a lot of familiar faces that you're seeing, you know, in these live streams right here for your time as you were working with the Secret Service. You know, any final thoughts on the security of truly a historic day?
Yeah, look, the Secret Service wants this to go very well today, as it does every event. The Secret Service,
We've been telling clients it's nearly impossible to sell a home in winter. Not true.
At iBuyDirect, our virtual try-on lets you find the perfect pair straight from your device. iBuyDirect.com.
Working that our transfer of power will happen at noontime today. You know, the detail agents that are with President Trump today will move over, the detail agents that are with President Biden today will move over to President Trump at 12 noon. The presidential detail does not change despite the individual in that office. So there's a seamless transfer of power as well as a seamless transfer of protection that will be seen today by the Secret Service and the new administration.
And Bobby, we do appreciate you taking the time to really overview the security measures in place, and we appreciate you taking the time.
Always a pleasure, Stephanie. Thank you.
All right, and we do want to continue our coverage. I want to bring back in my colleague Andrew Kraft, as we are expecting President-elect Trump to arrive at St. John's Church right here, and we see that the door is opening and taking a look. And yes, Andrew, that is President-elect Donald Trump right here arriving at St. John's Church. You know, we can see the fist pump, you know, just another symbol for those who are watching. You know, what do you make of this moment right here?
Well, I think it's so striking, Stephanie, that St. John's Episcopal Church, it's right across the street from the White House. It's near Lafayette Square, and I think a lot of people might remember in that summer of 2020, June of 2020, during some of those really dangerous riots that were happening in D.C. at the time. You remember Trump walked from the White House to St. John's. He stood outside the church, and he lifted a Bible. Sign a show of strength in the moment of a pretty perilous time in the country. In the nation's capital, you see there the First Lady's father. You also see Jared Kushner was just there. So we're going to see a lot of the Trump family members today, obviously, and you just saw, for those kind of following the fashion trends, Usha Vance and Melania Trump and what they're wearing. That's always kind of a key kind of focal point of the day as well, Stephanie.
Yes, and you were mentioning, you were naming those that you saw, and I also wanted to share this with our viewers right here, as Representative Mike Waltz shared this social media post saying, St. John's Church, the Church of the Presidents, God bless America. And you can also see Elon Musk also in attendance for this service right here. And we were talking about, you know, the tech giants that are going to be at the swearing-in ceremony as well. Elon Musk, of course, is set to attend that. But we are seeing a number of notables walking into St. John's Church right here. What we're going to do is, you know, it's a little unclear, Andrew, whether we're going to actually be able to get a live stream inside the service itself. But this is another exterior angle of St. John's Church right there as President-elect Trump has arrived alongside soon-to-be First Lady Melania Trump. And as you mentioned, a number of family members and other notables. What we're going to do is we're going to step away for just a brief 2-minute break, continuing our live coverage after that. Stay with us. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox on this Inauguration Day 2025. I'm Stephanie Quinu. This is a live look right here of the nation's capital. A beautiful look on this Monday, Inauguration Day 2025. And in fact, you can see the American flags draped there along the U.S. Capitol. What is different? Perhaps you can take a look. It is empty. And typically on Inauguration Day, we have hundreds of thousands of folks who are there lining the mall ahead of the swearing-in ceremony, excited to be part of history and to participate in this historic event. That has now changed because of the frigid temperatures, the actual temperatures in the 20s, the feel-like temperatures much colder than that, with the winds continuing to pick up. And because of that, the decision was made last Friday to transition the swearing-in ceremony from outdoors to indoors inside the Capitol Rotunda. The second time this has happened, the last time being back in 1985 for former President Ronald Reagan. To talk more on this historic day, I do want to bring back in my colleague Andrew Kraft as we continue. Take a live look right here outside of St. John's Church, where we saw President-elect Trump and Vice President-elect J.D. Vance walk inside, you know, likely not going to be allowed cameras inside as this service gets underway. But you were noting who was actually arriving and going through those doors, Andrew, and it's really the who's who of not only Washington, but really of U.S. business industries.
Picture of Elon Musk, he's inside there, also members of the Trump family. And this is going to be a different Washington for the next 4 years. A unified government. Republicans will control, obviously, the House and the Senate. Donald Trump is in the White House. And so we'll see what will be on the agenda and whether or not the agenda can get done. You are seeing kind of some of these Republicans who usually are hawkish on China somewhat fall in line on President-elect Trump's stance on TikTok. I've only seen a few Republican senators somewhat break with the president-elect on what to do with TikTok. So I thought that was interesting. But to your point, we have this really beautiful live picture there of St. John's Episcopal Church. If you're familiar with Washington, it's right across the street from the White House, right across the street from Lafayette Square. And to your point, Stephanie, on inauguration days, in memoriam, it has been used for the incoming president-elect to, if they are imbued with their personal faith, to reflect, to, ask for God's divine grace and thanks and forgiveness as they embark on this incredibly, extremely weighty job, the weight of the world falling on the shoulders of those who sit in the Oval Office. And that's what we're seeing right now happen there. And so I thought it was interesting. Obviously, President Biden is an adherent of the Catholic faith. He's a devout Catholic. So he did not do this tradition back in 2021. He chose instead to participate in a service there at the Cathedral of St. Matthew the Apostle, a really, really beautiful church. For those of our Catholic viewers in Washington, Biden chose that church before getting sworn in back in January of 2021. So, yes, if you are the incoming president-elect, you can choose based on your faith, but this has been a tradition going back many, many decades, I believe even to some of our founding fathers, and it is quintessential Washington. It is imbued with history. And you're seeing right now the motorcade posted up outside St. John's there as this service is underway. So you're right, we're not going to get any live pictures inside, but we will see the departure from St. John's, where I believe the president-elect and the first lady and the vice president-elect and the second lady will go from that church, I believe, to the White House to meet with the Bidens.
And I also wanted, Andrew, to bring up for our viewers right here some additional information about the St. John's Church. And you mentioned President Biden being of Catholic faith. St. John's is Episcopalian. And just for our viewers right there, just wanted to share some historical information right there. As you mentioned, it is known as the Church of Presidents, as it has welcomed every president to worship, beginning with James Madison. So, talking about the traditions and the history behind every event that we are going to be seeing today, many of them being started by some of those many, many years ago. Not every president has followed every single one of these traditions, some of them making their own tradition. And, as I was, taking a look at some of the history, seeing one of those trivias, which was, JFK being the last president to be sworn in to wear a top hat. So, history being made every single time, there is a swearing in ceremony. And I have to imagine, Andrew, that there is going to be history made. President-elect Trump, not one necessarily to stand on tradition. As he was mentioning, as he was campaigning, he is looking to forge a new path to disrupt the status quo, already doing that even before being officially sworn in and looking ahead to the next 4 years. I have to imagine we are likely going to be seeing a lot of firsts.
Yeah, I think that will be somewhat evident in the slate of executive orders that will be kind of signed by Trump's pen and his hand today. Fox News Digital is reporting that there are scores of them ready to go. And that is what kind of the presidential transition is for, Stephanie. You have a lot of these people who are going to be working with you for the next 4 years. They're incoming White House staff, incoming agency staff. And they have relied on some kind of outside think tanks and nonprofits, conservative ones at that, to help them draft these. So these have been ready to go really for a while. It's not like they're being drafted last minute. And it really runs the gamut on the environment, on the southern border, and so much more, on the kind of civil and federal bureaucracy about what powers the executive has to fire government employees at will here. And so we're going to see that after the inauguration, after the swearing in. They are ready to go, according to some of our reporting. And that's what a transition is for. But to your point, Donald Trump in 2017, after winning the 2016 election, he vowed to change up the status quo. His very election was the definition of that. And you can argue, and historians will, on whether he did that in his first term. And so now we're going to see a second Trump term, and you're going to see him partake and pursue some of the policy routes that he didn't necessarily get to in the first term. That is what a second term is for. Obviously, there was an interregnum of 4 years as President Biden and Vice President Harris won that election back in 2020. And so, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see on what is going to be priority number one. But he's going to have a lot of latitude. He's going to have a lot of leeway because he has the House and the Senate to really reshape how things are done here. You know, he created the Department of Government Efficiency already. There's been some reporting out there that Vivek Ramaswamy is out already at that. And so that was another, remember, feature of the first Trump presidency. A lot of staff shakeups. They really had to get their, you know, steady bearing under them. There was a lot of cabinet resignations. There was a lot of firings. There's just a lot of turnover. And I'm not necessarily sure if you're going to see that this time.
It's so true, Andrew, and it's going to be very interesting, I have to say, as you were mentioning, the difference between 2017 and now. Of course, so much has happened in the world. You know, it's a different time right now. We have been seeing a lot of wars, a lot of conflicts, a lot of different issues arise that perhaps weren't even in existence back 4 years ago. A tremendous amount of change has occurred as we take another live look at the nation's capital, where we see the American flag there waving in the distance. And of course, wind chill, Andrew, continuing to be a conversation maker, as so much of what we were expecting today, we were preparing for, has changed because of the weather, the incredibly cold weather in the 20s, and of course it feels much colder, and so, you know, there is not that much pomp and circumstance. We're not going to be seeing the outdoor parade. We are going to be seeing it inside the Capital One Arena, but again, just very different from what I think a lot of people were preparing for. And it's not just physical preparement, right? We have the nation, we have President-elect Trump winning the popular vote, the electoral vote. So many people anticipating and waiting for this moment. They've been waiting for years. And unfortunately, many of the people who have made this journey to Washington, D.C., not going to be able to witness it firsthand because it's inside. And I have to imagine a lot of disappointed people today, as well as, of course, celebration, just different for them.
Yeah, you know, I myself have never been or never attended an inauguration, but I would imagine it's just, you know, you really feel the sense of history and the pomp and circumstance when you do travel to Washington, and you get to kind of bask in, you know, how we do this, how we have done this uninterrupted for almost the last 250 years. And just have to note, obviously, the last inauguration, you know, President Trump did not attend that inauguration. At the time, Vice President Pence, he attended Biden and Harris's swearing in here. So he is back. And so that uninterrupted transition, peaceful transition of power, you've heard it a lot from President Biden in the last couple of days. You heard it a lot from Vice President Harris and incoming President-elect Trump. That is what they are committed to. But I want to go back to this, which I think is interesting. We've been talking about faith and how important faith is to our elected leaders, including and especially the President of the United States. You and I just anchored, of course, special coverage of the 39th President Jimmy Carter's funeral as the nation said goodbye to him earlier this month. And faith was a really big part of his his life and of his presidency as well. And obviously the question is, what Bible will President-elect Trump use to be sworn in on? He will use two Bibles. He will use his mother's Bible and Lincoln's Bible, of course, that was used by Abraham Lincoln in 1861. It's been used for, I believe, every modern swearing in the modern presidency. So it is deeply, deeply symbolic of just a prop, an object for the country to see that. But we will see that inside. And I only bring up faith because as we speak right now, inside St. John's Episcopal Church, the Trumps and the Vances are inside. And this is a tradition, this is a custom that has been really since the Founding Fathers' days, since that church went up there right across the street from the White House. So they're keeping with that tradition. And obviously, J.D. Vance himself, a convert to Catholicism. Donald Trump has talked about his faith in interviews in the past and how it guides him. And so I just wanted to take the opportunity to acknowledge that and note that because that is the key feature of these presidencies.
And as we're taking a look at St. John's Church as well as Capitol Hill, you mentioned that, and we were hearing so much of faith. President Biden, of course, is speaking a lot, and he has been known to speak a lot about his Catholic faith. And we do, see, even though church and state, of course, are separate, we do also see perhaps the connection as well as many presidents make faith a tent pole for them as they navigate, the ups and the downs of the political world right there. Andrew, I also wanted to share this because, my producer just wanted to share this with us, that New York City Mayor Eric Adams is in line for a potential pardon, and he will be attending President-elect Trump's inauguration. We do know that they met last week as well. And, Mayor Adams, a Democrat, attending. So we also see, the Democrats and the Republicans perhaps, looking ahead to the future, looking to forge a new path. And everyone who attends the swearing-in ceremony is there for a reason. And so this is also interesting to note as we continue to learn a little bit more about who's going to be at the inauguration. Of course, the inauguration now inside the Capitol Rotunda, so only just 600 people allowed inside. And it does appear, at least according to Politico, that New York City Mayor Eric Adams will be one of those attendees.
Yeah, that is so interesting. That trip to Florida that Mayor Adams made last week, and Mayor Adams' chief spokesperson came out and he said definitively no pardon was discussed. Adams' indictment was not discussed with the incoming president-elect. They talked about a number of things, including the issue of crime, including the issue of illegal immigration, including the Israel-Hamas war as well. But interesting to note, yes, one of the nation's biggest cities mayors will be in attendance. You're talking about that 600 number, and I've been seeing photos from the 85 inauguration with President Reagan and First Lady Nancy Reagan at the time, and there was a kind of bird's eye panoramic view of the rotunda. And I don't know if we can pull that up, but definitely looked like a lot more than 600 people. So it's going to be jam-packed, to your point, though, Stephanie. And it'll be something we haven't seen in 40 years. And so that is kind of what I'll be looking forward to, how they came about this so quickly, how they pulled this together. A lot of work, a lot of effort going into that. And we'll just have to wait and see.
It is going to be interesting. Our senior producer, Julianne, is going to try and work to pull up the video for the Capitol Rotunda to just show just how large it is. But no doubt they are going to be at capacity inside as, of course, everyone, wants to be part of this historic moment right there. Another live look at the U.S. Capitol. And you can see on the left-hand side of your screen the the tree without leaves shaking in the wind. And once again, just a visible reminder as to why all of this has now evolved, has morphed into an indoor events day. It's because of the bitter cold. And, you know, of course, most of these swearing-in ceremonies held outdoors for the public to attend, and so many folks have had those tickets in hand, you know, ready to wait in line, and that has been drastically changed right here. But my producer just sharing this with us. This, of course, is from the Republican Party. It says the location may have changed, but crews are already hard at work to ensure a successful inauguration and a peaceful transfer of power. So this is a look right there at walking up the steps, walking into the Capitol Rotunda right there. And to your point, Andrew, it gives us a better idea about, you know, the capacity of this, you know. And I don't know if you know this, Andrew, but, you know, no doubt people are going to be able to be seated. But I also have to imagine it might be standing room only, as so many people do want to make sure that they attend today's historic swearing-in ceremony.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see, you know, who is seated or standing where. Obviously, that's much easier to do on the dais outside in the front of the U.S. Capitol, because you can see it very, very clearly. But we're going to see a jam-packed Capitol Rotunda, and it'll be interesting to see who is seated next to who or standing next to who, and who gets that prime placement in front of the cameras here. Of course, a big kind of storyline in all of this, Stephanie, is, you know, who's not attending today. You and I have discussed that. We discussed that on Friday. The AP reported last week former First Lady Michelle Obama will not be there. We also know it was reported that former Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi won't be there, and some of these other prominent Democrats like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She came out on Instagram Live just over the weekend saying that she would not be there as well. So I think it's interesting, to your point, to just say who will and who won't be there. I'm always looking for that.
It is going to be interesting, the who's who, so to speak. And Andrew, we are going to step away for a 2-minute break, but after that, we do want to bring in presidential historian Jim Robineau to talk more about the historic events that we are going to be seeing and couching it when it comes to looking ahead, but also looking behind, because, you know, the present and the future are always influenced by the past. And we're going to have that interesting conversation coming up after the break, Andrew. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our Live Now from Fox Inauguration Day 2025 coverage as we look ahead to the official swearing-in ceremony of President-elect Donald J. Trump and Vice President-elect J.D. Vance. I'm Stephanie Quinu, and you're taking a live look right here at a very chilly Capitol building right there with the American flags, and you can actually see the stage had been set for the upcoming swearing-in ceremony. Unfortunately, you can also see not a person right there on the mall. Typically, crowds would have already walked in preparing in anticipation for this historic moment because of the weather, because of the dangerously cold temperatures and the wind chill. The swearing-in ceremony is now going to be held inside the Capitol Rotunda. Just the second time, the last time being back in 1985 for former President Ronald Reagan's second swearing-in ceremony. And a lot of disappointed people, as you can imagine, making the journey to Washington, D.C. to witness this historic moment as President-elect Trump to be sworn in as the 47th president. He was sworn in first 8 years ago as the 45th president, so just the second president to be elected non-consecutively. Grover Cleveland, in fact, being the very first president to have that happen. And to give more on this historical perspective, we do want to bring in Jim Robinault, who is a presidential historian and a friend of Live Now from Fox. And Jim, we appreciate you taking the time to join us on this Inauguration Day.
Hi, Andrew. Good to see you.
And we are taking a live look, Jim, at St. John's Church, where President-elect Trump and Vice President-elect J.D. Vance are inside, along with a number of notables. Andrew and I have been discussing this all morning long in terms of who will be attending. And it is very significant in terms of who is being allowed inside the Capitol Rotunda to witness this historic moment, because these are a select few handpicked by President-elect Trump. What do you make of those who we know will be in attendance, Jim?
Well, I think that, you know, it's a very small space, actually. And I told Andrew last week that if you go back and watch the inaugural of Reagan in 1985, everybody is standing. It looks like that's what's going to be the case here, so they can get more people in there. If they had chairs, it'd be even less. I think they estimated about 1,000 people made it into Reagan's inaugural inside the Capitol. If they had chairs, it'd probably be only about 600 people. So it's a very confined space. As I understand it, they're using the hall, the Great Hall that's just been built in front of the Capitol, the entrance to the Capitol, for overflow for 1,800 guests who will be there. It's a beautiful space, but it's not like being there in person. So it's going to be a very intimate affair. And I think in Reagan's case in 1985, it did provide a nice backdrop for him inside the Capitol, and with all these people standing around and standing next to each other as he gave his speech.
You know, I just wanted to bring up, we do have some reporting in, if we could take the shot outside St. John's Church. Bloomberg's reporting some of those who are in attendance with the president-elect and the vice president-elect. I'm learning, and they're learning, Mark Zuckerberg is there, Jeff Bezos is there, Tim Cook is there, the TikTok CEO, Shao Chu, is there. Also, Argentinian leader Javier Milei is there, and the former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson among those in attendance for the service there. Jim, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. I know it's early, but I got to ask, because I don't want to belabor this point here today because it's about Donald Trump's inauguration, but we have to ask you what President Biden just issued about 2 hours ago, preemptive pardons for a slew of Trump critics. Now, in just about an hour's time, Biden and Trump will be in the same car together. They'll be exchanging pleasantries. And he just delivered this parting shot to his longtime political rival. And we could get into what a preemptive pardon is, if any presidents have ever done that. What do you make of that, that this one last final barb to a political foe he delivered with hours left as president?
Well, it's interesting, Andrew. I mean, the pardon power is a really important part of our history. If you go back to the beginning of the country, there was a rebellion in the country by people who had served in the Continental Army who were not getting their pay and whose homes were being, taken from them. It was called Shays' Rebellion. That rebellion led to the need for a constitutional convention in our Constitution. It brought George Washington out of retirement and back into political life. So that rebellion was much about trying to quell people who had been violent, who had stormed courthouses to stop court proceedings and so forth. And that's why the pardon power was put into our Constitution, was to allow a president to calm take the temperature down, to end something that could be, a very dangerous rebellion against the nation itself, and pardon people like Colonel Shays or Captain Shays. That power also was shown at the end of the Civil War with the general amnesty that was issued to the Confederate soldiers. And there was actually an act of Congress under the 14th Amendment for that. Then you get to, the First World War, and Warren Harding very courageously gave a pardon to Eugene Debs, who was a socialist leader who ran for president 4 times. He ran against Harding in the election of 1920. And Harding commuted his sentence. He had been put in jail for speaking out against the war. And many considered him a traitor for doing that, but a lot of people felt that was just First Amendment right to protest against a war. And when Harding did that, his entire cabinet was not in favor of it. His wife was not in favor of it. But the point was to try to settle things and heal wounds. So we saw it with Nixon. We saw it with Carter with the Vietnam vets. It's a power that is used at moments like this. And it's to be compared to, what Donald Trump has said he's going to do with the January 6 people when he gets into office. Right. So it's a very important power, actually, and it's important to try to put some disputes in the past and not keep fighting about things that just will go on and on. Long history, long answer to that, but that's the history of the pardon power, and it's absolute under the Constitution.
And Jim, I just wanted to let our viewers see this live look right here as we do see President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden welcome in Vice President Harris and a second gentleman, Doug Emhoff, right there, as they are also preparing to participate in this swearing-in ceremony, of course, having that farewell ceremony as well. We see them, standing at attention. And I also want to bring in this, Jim, because there's the political dynamic that we're going to see at play today right here as well. And even in the same party, you take a look at this and you see President Biden really being forced out by his own party, and then Vice President Harris tapped to take on President-elect Trump. And we see this, we're also going to see this at play, during the swearing-in ceremony, as we also talk about who will be there and, of course, who will not be there. And we do know that Michelle Obama will not be in attendance. She wasn't at the funeral service for former President Jimmy Carter, also not attending the swearing-in ceremony. And that's getting a lot of chatter. What can you make of that, Jim? What can you share with us in terms of that perspective?
Well, again, if you look at our history, we've had, I think, 4 different presidents who have not attended their successors' inauguration, all the way back to 1801 when John Adams, the second president, refused to attend the ceremony for Thomas Jefferson in 1801, a very bitter campaign. And Adams got up at 4 in the morning and left the Capitol rather than attend. His son, John Quincy Adams, did not attend when Jackson came in, too. Another cantankerous time. What I would point out is, I think we ought to look back. Reagan's inaugural, his very first inaugural, when he defeated Jimmy Carter. Again, bitter campaign. Carter was bitterly disappointed. Reagan got up and he started his inaugural by saying that the orderly transfer of authority as called by the Constitution routinely takes place, as it has for almost 2 centuries. And few of us stop to think about how unique we really are. In the eyes of many in the world, this every 4-year ceremony we accept as normal is nothing less than a miracle. In the very next statement, he spoke to Carter, calling him Mr. President. I want the nation to know how you've helped me in this transition of power. That is something that we should not take for granted. It's good that President Biden and that Vice President Harris are going to be attending. It's very important that they do that. For his own reasons, Donald Trump did not attend 4 years ago, but we need to reestablish that and keep that as the peaceful transfer of power in our government, or we don't have much of a government. But it's good to look back at somebody like Reagan, who was very gracious about it, very gracious with Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter before him had been very gracious with Gerald Ford after Watergate, who had pardoned Richard Nixon, by the way, and one of the reasons he didn't win. So as I see it, it's important that the president and vice president attend. Other people like Michelle Obama can make their own decisions. I would prefer that she would come rather than have the distraction, but it's definitely her decision about what to do. As I understand it, President Obama is going to be attending. So this is an important point and an important moment in our constitutional government. And really, we see a lot of grace by many people who have gone through this. And we also see others who have decided not to attend. So it goes both ways.
Yeah, I mean, Jim, it's no stranger to anyone that it's hard to lose. It's hard to lose on such a public stage as a U.S. presidential election. I want to talk, though, with you about the inaugural address, and we can maybe get into what your favorite inaugural address is as the presidential historian. Mine is Lincoln's second inaugural here. But what will Trump say today? Will he, like Reagan, give a nod, give some words in his speech to both Biden and Harris in some show of grace? I'll be looking for that because obviously that portion in his first inaugural back in 2017, the American Carnage section, a lot of people infamously remember that. But he's saying his speech is going to be one of unity today.
And I also wanted to share with our viewers, Andrew, Jim, before you answer that, it does appear that President-elect Trump is departing now. St. John's Church, we saw him alongside Melania Trump exiting the church. It does seem as though the service has wrapped up. They're walking hand in hand right there, and he's smiling to the crowd. Thank you, he says, mouthing those words and walking into the escort right there, the convoy. And I just wanted to share that with our viewers as we continue to take a live look. But, Andrew was sharing some of his favorite, inaugural speeches. Do you have one?
Yes. I mean, if you look at inaugurals, Andrew, as you've said, the message of unity is what's most important. And you see it again and again. A lot of these inaugurals are a genre that, follows kind of a pattern. The president starting off humbly thanking the voters, essentially saying, I'm not sure I'm up to the task, as George Washington famously said in his very first inaugural, and then going through and saying, as Thomas Jefferson did in 1801, this dispute with Adams, he said then, we are all Federalists, we are all Republicans, meaning we're all Americans. And after hard campaigns, a president needs to unify the country because the president's going to be governing the entire country. And so that's a very important message. I've seen that Trump is intending to talk about unity. Actually, if you look back at his speech, the American Carnage speech from 4 years ago, he actually did talk about unity there too. And so it is a really important message. But if you ask me, what are the important inaugurals? Obviously, Washington's, Jefferson's, and then I agree with Andrew, both of Lincoln's, but especially Lincoln's second inaugural, which was very important. Again, the country then torn apart by war and 600,000 Americans losing their lives, huge change in the country politically. And Lincoln chose that occasion to say, with malice towards none, with charity for all, let us bind up our wounds. That's the kind of message that you need to have after you've had a rough and tumble time, and especially when you've had, such a severe war. The other two that I really like are Franklin Roosevelt's 1933, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself," where he tried to calm the nation in the midst of this Great Depression. And it was a really important message that calmed the fears in the country that, banks closing and things like that. It was a really difficult time. His message was one of fortitude and, bucking up the American people. And then my absolute favorite actually is JFK's 1961 inaugural, when he talked about, you let the torch be passed to us, and then we need to be a country of service. Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. It's a wonderful, beautiful speech, very well put together, beautifully delivered on a day not unlike today. It was about 22 degrees. You can see the breath. And Kennedy got up, no hat, no overcoat, and gave this very stirring speech that is worth watching, and I think considered one of the top 2 or 3 inaugurals.
Jim, I also wanted to ask too, because we are in 30 days of mourning as a country in the wake of the death of former President Carter. President Biden issuing the guidance and the order for all American flags on federal buildings to be lowered to half staff. But in the last couple of days, you've heard from Speaker of the House Mike Johnson. You've heard from some Republican governors like Greg Abbott, like Ron DeSantis, and others saying that for today, the American flag should be raised back to full staff. On some state houses, that is going to happen. But we're learning, according to some reports, that Speaker Johnson also had ordered that for the U.S. Capitol. But some reports saying right now that the staff, the crew, are trying to bring it back to full staff, but the cords are frozen because it is so cold. I wanted to ask, though, was there a previous time when the nation was under a 30-day period of mourning for a former president or whatever during the time of an inauguration? Can you think of one? Is that unique?
I think it is unique. If you look at our inaugurations, today Trump will become the 47th POTUS, but we've had 78 different ceremonies because every consecutive POTUS, numbered POTUS, if you have 2, swearing in ceremonies. And then we have this quirk of several presidents who died in office. And those presidents, there was an immediate transfer of power to the vice presidents in those situations. And in, Nixon's resignation, the transfer to Gerald Ford. So when those presidents died in office and you would have had, the flags at half-mast, the transfer of power had already happened. There was no real inaugural speech. There was no inaugural ceremony other than the giving of the oath to the vice presidents under these, dire circumstances. And it was done in various places, by the way. It wasn't just in the Capitol. Calvin Coolidge, when he took over after Harding died, his father swore him in Vermont. And several times when that sort of thing happened, an emergency presidency, if you will, those would be followed by some public ceremony on the East Portico. So to answer your question, I don't think this has ever happened before where we've had the death of a former president or a president that resulted in flags being flown at half staff during an inauguration. It would have been during the time of, emergency. LBJ down in Dallas, he was sworn in on Air Force One. Very interesting trivia question there. The person who swore LBJ in was Sarah Hughes, who was a federal district court judge who had been appointed by Kennedy and was, a friend of LBJ's. He waited for her to come out. The only woman to ever administer the oath of office. Wow. And so you see that famous scene, which really interesting to me because I wrote in my book, January 1973, that she's the one who administered that oath. She was later the judge who decided Roe v. Wade in the lower court.
Wow.
And Wade was the guy who was the prosecutor who brought Oswald out, Henry Wade. So kind of a strange quirk. And then Roe v. Wade is issued on June January 22, 1973. Later that day, Roe v. Wade is decided in the Supreme Court, and later that day, Lyndon Johnson dies. So there's a lot of real interesting connections to that story. But I think when you look at where the country is in terms of mourning a president or a former president, I don't think that's ever happened before. And I think that to me, this issue is one that is not worth much fighting about. It is what it is, and it's symbolic to some people. So be it. But I think it is the law that you have to keep them at half staff.
And now we're taking a live look as President-elect Trump is arriving at Blair House. This is really just the stepstone, if you will, before he arrives at the Capitol Rotunda. And Jim, you were sharing with us in terms of previous inaugural speeches and previous significant events. As a historian, of course, typically you take a look at the past, but you're also viewing what is happening in real time through that historical lens. And I'm curious for you, when you're taking a look at the historic events unfolding before our very eyes, before the nation, before the world, what are you most focusing on today?
Yeah, Stephanie, it's a good question. I think that given what President Biden did this morning, this day will be remembered for pardons. Both the pardons that Biden issued and the pardons that President Trump has said he's going to issue. And we're still not sure whether it's going to be a blanket pardon for everyone who was convicted of January 6 crimes or if it's going to be select people. But, this day is going to be remembered for that. And I think people will put a lot of context around it because it will be on the Democrat side, they will say, we needed to do this because people were being threatened with political prosecutions. And on the Republican side, they're going to say, well, you politically prosecuted President Trump and these people who were protesting in 2020. Really shows a real divide in our country through this mechanism of the pardon power. And it's definitely going to be the thing that we're going to remember. It's interesting that the people who write these speeches for presidents spend a lot of time looking at the past inaugurals. And it is interesting to go back and look at them. They're real points in time. But if you look at some of the people who wrote their inaugurals before they had speechwriters per se, James Garfield in 1881, who was a college president, just a genius in math, Civil War general, and he won in 1881. He would then be assassinated 6 months later, but he could not, he had writer's block. He could not write it out, and he had nightmares about it, and finally he had a dream that kind of provoked him into writing what he was going to write. But it's a really important historical document that sets the nation in a point in time, but it also looks back. Most of these inaugurals reference George Washington in some way or another. Most of them reference the founding fathers. Most of them, like President Reagan, reference the miracle of the transfer of power, the peaceful transfer of power in this country. And then, of course, they talk about where they are and what they want to do. They don't necessarily talk about, down nitty-gritty policy. It's more principles of where they want to take the nation and what they want to do. And that was true of Trump's first inaugural. That was true of Biden's inaugural. This whole idea of talking about broad principles and ways that you want to lead the nation. So it's an important time, an important document, an important marker for our country, and it's worthwhile going back and reading a number of these inaugural addresses to really get a feel for how the country got through very difficult times, how the country got through very good times, and how we progressed and moved forward as a nation.
And moving forward, we were just sharing with our viewers, Jim, more individuals leaving, departing St. John's Church. We were seeing Barron Trump, obviously the youngest son of President-elect Trump, along with a number of his other family members. And right here, we do see Vice President Kamala Harris and Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff welcoming Vice President-elect J.D. Vance. And so it does appear as though perhaps they're having a conversation. So I did want to raise the audio for our viewers to see what we can hear.
Great.
The audio just a little bit difficult to hear, but from what we saw with the exchange, you know, Jim, what do you make of this? Obviously, it was an incredibly contentious election cycle, and neither individual really mincing words, or anyone for that matter. When we take a look at this exchange, again, history in the making, you know, what do you glean from that?
It's interesting to me. We've had very few senators become presidents. John Kennedy was one of them. Barack Obama was one, and Warren Harding was one. Very few people come out of the Senate and become president. A lot of them come from the House. A lot of them are governors like Reagan and Carter. But these two people, J.D. Vance and Kamala Harris, both come out of the Senate tradition, which is a very collegial fight, but then get along type of atmosphere. And you could kind of see it in the way they greeted each other. There was grace there on both sides. And I think that that's an important message for the American people, that we can disagree vehemently about policies and about all sorts of things that are really important to us. But at the end of the day, you know, just like those senators have to get along in their legislating for the American people, those two showed that they have Senate blood in them, so to speak, that they both are willing to be collegial and to speak to each other as human beings and as fellow politicians. So I was pleased to see that. I was pleased to see the smiles, and I think it's an important message for the American people.
And I also